started. First item on the agenda is the labor update. I have no requests to speak, but Alex Scherza has an update.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Marco Mercado, Senior Executive Analyst with the City Manager's Office of Employee Relations. On Friday, September 20th, the Association of Building, Mechanical, and Electrical Inspectors, ABMEI, provided the City with their initial interest in issues, including a proposed 4% general wage increase, or alternatively, a 2% general wage increase plus a 2% one-time retention payout, or a 2% general wage increase plus an $1,800 lump sum. The proposal is in front of you and has also been posted online. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no requests to speak, so we're going to adjourn into closed session. We'll return at 1:30. We will start with an invocation. Councilmember Herrera will introduce the invocator.
Thank you, Mayor Reed. Today we welcome Tribal Councilwoman Gloria Areno Gomez to perform the invocation. Gloria Areno Gomez is a councilwoman for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. Gloria is also a member of the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe Language Committee and is proactive in restoring her tribe's Muwekma Ohlone language. All of Gloria's paternal Ohlone ancestors were missionized, a polite term for forcibly being brought into the mission of San Jose and Mission Dolores. Her lineage is descended from her four-great-grandmother, Afrena Quenatole, born in 1797, and her four-great-grandfather, Liberato Copexe, born in 1787. Gloria's grandfather, Albert Arano, was baptized at the Mission San Jose and lived in Russell City, now the city of Hayward. Her father is Joel Areno Sr., an elder and former chairman of the Muwekma Elders Council. Gloria has had the honor of giving open blessings in the tribe's native language and welcoming to the Aboriginal lands. Her main focus now is raising her two daughters, Isabella Amne and Georgiana Corme, who are her source of inspiration in the preservation of the tribe's Ohlone language, heritage, and culture. I thank Councilwoman Areno for all of her work in the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and throughout San Jose, and now invite her to perform the invocation. And I think possibly we're going to hear some in the language, right? Thank you.
Horshe Uyak, Makachokma, San Jose City Council members. Aye, Makachokma. Kanak Rakat Gloria Areno Gomez, Kanak Hiwish, Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, San Francisco Bay Area Tak. Aye Kanak Nonwente Makmuwekma Ohlone Horshe Chocheño no Nokma. Ne tuhi makin Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, irite al sheep, makmingich irite al sheep. Ne tuhi mak Muwekma aye mak Muwekmash, achokma mak shumisin, Señor Dios ishai, mak no nokma. Good afternoon to our friends, the council members of the City of San Jose, and our guests. My name is Gloria Areno Gomez. I am a council member of the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. I am also a speaker of our beautiful Muwekma Ohlone Chocheño language. Today, we, the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, are very happy to be here. Our hearts are content. Today, on behalf of our people in the Native community, I offer the Lord's Prayer in our Muwekma Ohlone Chocheño language. At this time, if you feel it, you're welcome to rise and bow your head. I will be saying the Lord's Prayer in Chocheño. Apa maken nusha rinimu, ahunimak emraakat, menimu hai makish hexe, mu kiti enne rinimu, ro tema shumi makishmak, amati lalmawara aye sunumak hayakma, akwetim unyusin hirwen, ek teshmine, sahai makish hemen, ek teshmine. Kishor Shekinan, thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Please stand, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the invocation. We appreciate that. Our next item of business are the orders of the day, changes from the printed agenda. To be considered, items 1.3 and 1.4 are ceremonial items that will be taken together as one item. Any others? I think not. Motion to approve the orders of the day. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Orders are approved. As noted in the orders of the day, today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of Robert Coelho. Councilmember KHAMIS has some more to say.
Thank you, Mayor. With us today is Bob's wife and children, Gretchen, and his children, Aaron and Rob. His other son, Darren, could not be with us today here, but he's here in spirit. Also joining us is Martha Kelly and many of his friends from Almaden Cares and Almaden Kiwanis. I just want to let you know a little bit about my friend Bob. He dedicated his life to serving others. He's served in the U.S. Army. He's mentored many people in this moving and storage industry for over 50 years. He coached his son's Little League team. He served as president of the Almaden Little League. He coached youth baseball. He coached Leland High School's varsity basketball team for 4 years. He was also the founding member of the Almaden Kiwanis, which I belong, and the Almaden Cares. And he had two leading service. They're the big service organizations in the Almaden Valley. He was the co-founder of the CHAPS Foundation, helping underprivileged youth attending summer camp. And just to let you know a little bit about Bob, I actually talked to him a few days before his passing, and he was at an Almaden Cares meeting, and I knew he was sick for a long time, and I was very delighted to see him actually. And I just said, "Hey, Bob, what are you doing here?" You know, and he said, "I want to be here," and that's the kind of guy he was. He was there helping the community till the end, and I know he died peacefully in his home on August 10th, and he will be missed. I will miss him greatly, and I know our community will. And so we will adjourn the meeting in memory of Robert Coelho.
Thank you, Councilmember KHAMIS. Next item is closed session report. City Attorney.
We have no closed session report.
We'll now take up the ceremonial items. I'd like to start by inviting Councilmember Herrera to join me at the podium as we proclaim September 28th as Native American Day in the city of San Jose. We'll take a minute for everybody to join us that's come down for this ceremony, and Councilmember Herrera will have some of the details.
Thank you, Mayor. And it is my pleasure to proclaim September 28, 2013 as Native American Day in the city of San Jose, to acknowledge and honor the history and heritage of Native American cultures as we celebrate their contributions to our society. I would like to welcome representatives from the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, Vice Chairwoman Monica Ariano, Tribal Councilwoman Gloria Ariano, Tribal Ethno-Historian Alan Leventhal, Tribal Member Virginia Ariano, Tribal Member Lucas Ariano, Tribal Member Georgiana Gomez. And from the Center of Training and Careers, we have President and CEO Rose Amador. In 1968, Governor Ronald Reagan issued a resolution declaring American Indian Day in California. And in 1998, the state renamed this holiday Native American Day, recognizing it as an official state holiday. The city of San Jose takes great pride in its cultural diversity and seeks to honor and acknowledge the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area, which has resided in the greater Bay Area for over the past 12,000 years. Although the Muwekma Ohlone tribe was once pronounced extinct by anthropologists, its tribal members later enrolled with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They continue to advocate for the reaffirmation of their federally recognized status in order to acknowledge and honor their heritage and traditions. We would next like to acknowledge two other local Bay Area tribes, the Ama Mutsun Tribal Band of Ohlone Conestogan Indians Ohlone, Conestogan, Esselen Indians of the Greater Monterey Bay Area, as well as Native American organizations such as the American Indian Alliance, American Indian Elders Group, American Indian Education Center, Kalpuli, Tonalakwe, First Nations Indian Council, Indian Health Center of Santa Clara Valley, Indian Time Radio, Native TANF program, TANF program, Native Voice TV, and San Jose Native American community members. And now it gives me great pleasure to recognize and proclaim today as September as a Native American Day. Mayor Reed, would you please present the proclamation to the members of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and Rose Amador? And we'll have Monica Reno and Rose Amador say a few words. I think each one of them get a proclamation.
Jorge Uyak, Kanak Raka, Monica Viariano, Wetrish Kuchush, Muwekma Wulwulam, San Francisco Bay Area Tak. Menemu Nepe Uyak, Exuyak Ma Muwekma, Aye Ekachokma. Makin Mak Muwekma Wulwulam, Akoy Makware, Mani Makhiswi. Good afternoon. My name is Monica Ariano. I am the Vice Chairwoman for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. With me this afternoon are our Muwekma people. My son, Lucas Ariano, my mother, Virginia Ariano, Councilwoman Gloria Ariano, our Chairwoman, Rosemary Cambra in the audience, Tribal Member Jessica Vicun, Tribal Administrator Norma Sanchez, Alan Leventhal, Ethnohistorian, and our smallest member to date, Georgiana Gomez. We are Muwekma Ohlone. Welcome to our ancestral land, where we are born. As traditionally done on behalf of our people, Muwekma, we would like to offer a welcoming to our ancestral homeland to everyone in attendance at the San Jose City Council meeting. We would also like to thank the City of San Jose Council members for acknowledging today as Native American Day. This acknowledgement means a great deal to both our tribe as well as the entire Native American community in the City of San Jose. You are honoring the history and heritage of all Native American cultures. We are also thankful to Mayor Reed, Councilmember Herrera, and the entire City Council for the proclamation that has been presented to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area on this very special day. Makish Jorge Makina, Ukdashbohakan, Makiwe. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rose, Siwapili Rose Amador, and I am of Yaqui Mexica heritage. And I also represent Native Voice TV, CTC is another hat. The rise of tribal members in all walks of life stands as a testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of our Native community. In the city of San Jose, there's a very active Native community in healthcare, the arts, media, elders, youth, as well as every aspect of our community. We shall endure, we will endure, and we are still here. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Next, I'd like to invite Councilmember Chu to join me at the podium as we present a commendation to the College of Adaptive Arts. Councilmember Chu will have the details.
Quite a group of people. All right.
this is part of the College of Adaptive Art are here, so I'll give them some time to settle. Right, good afternoon. I'd like to thank my colleague and the mayor for joining me to commend College of Adaptive Art, who is a small but mighty college in the city of San Jose, for providing valuable education experiences and opportunities for adult and young adult with differing ability. Early this month, I had the pleasure to attend their annual golf tournament, where I was able to meet the students and learn more about the college. Although I know Deanna for many, many years when she first started the Angels on the Stage program. College of Adaptive Art is truly inspirational, and it allows individuals to channel their inner passion through the art program. Since 2009, the College of Adaptive Art has been providing adults with different abilities the opportunity to learn from a diverse and rich curriculum that enable them to live a full and empowered life as successful contributing members of our community. They have been serving the Bay Area with the mission of building an innovative college of the art for students with disability, to provide an environment where students can flourish and thrive and continue to push the boundaries of their potential. In appreciation of their contribution and making a positive impact on our community, I would like to ask the mayor to present a commendation to the College of Adaptive Arts. And I'm very, very proud to say my colleague, Sam LICCARDO, over there, is on their advisory board. Here to accept the commendations are their Executive Director, Deanna Persai, and the Dean of Instruction, Pamela Lindsay. I believe this two lady actually started this college. And also we have board member Margaret Dennis, okay? And the film crew was also here taking some nice pictures. It's Gary Crump and Shira Leaders, along with a student from the College of Adaptive Arts. To accept the commendation, we will have their student representative, Ryan Gallegos. Ryan?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all here to honor two wonderful people who have made a huge difference to adults with differing abilities. Deanna Persai and Pamela Lindsay felt that adults with differing abilities possess hidden talents. So in the summer of 2009 opened the College of Adaptive Arts, an innovative college. The college gives students the confidence to achieve their goals and show what they can do. Everyone possesses differing abilities, some hidden and some not so hidden. But the most important thing is that we all can come together around a certain kind of love or interest that we all enjoy, like our CAA golf team. As Theodore Geisel once said, "To the world you may be one person, but to one person you are the world." Thank you.
Member Camus is going to join me at the podium now as we proclaim September 22nd through the 28th as Active Aging Week. And in that week, September 22nd is designated as Falls Prevention Awareness Day. Councilmember Camus will have the details of those two matters. So come on down, folks, that are going to join us on this. Don't let Shane scare you off. He's okay. You can come on down.
Thank you, Mayor. This week, the City of San Jose is proclaiming Active Aging Week and Falls Prevention Awareness Day. San Jose has a thriving senior population practicing in our community center programs from nutrition to learning how to use Facebook. Our active senior program is also responsible for leading volunteer groups in beautifying our parks and lending helpful hands in our libraries. In proclaiming this Active Aging Week, I also have to recognize the incredible partnerships between City of San Jose and the county agencies who've made these opportunities available for our seniors. I want to thank the City of San Jose gerontology staff, the staff from the County Santa Clara Public Health Department, and staff from Health Trust for all their hard work. Here to say a few more words about Active Aging Week and Falls Prevention Awareness Day is, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Tamar Samarajan of the Silicon Valley Healthy Aging Partnership.
On behalf of the Silicon Valley Healthy Aging Partnership, I'm honored to receive this proclamation. We really appreciate the city's support in our mission. We've been working with the City of San Jose and especially Tracy Gott and her staff for many years now. They've been on the ground with us from the very beginning. We've also been working with our dynamic colleagues from around the county, from healthcare, public health, the County Department of Public Health, aging services providers, academics, funders, and many others to create a collaborative partnership to build capacity in our community, to reduce falls among older adults, and to reduce the number of hospitalizations and premature deaths associated with falls. To this end, we're working together to reduce the risk of falls among older adults through advocacy, resource development, and community and provider education. 1 in 3 community dwelling persons over the age of 65 falls each year, and this number increases to 1 in 2 over the age of 80. Fall-related injuries are often serious enough to result in hospitalization, and people who fall often face significant declines in mobility and independence. We're working together to reduce the frequency of falls and the impact of falls in our community through education, awareness, and the development of resources to support older adults and those who work with them and support them. We would very much like to thank El Camino Hospital and the Health Trust who have helped support these initiatives, and all my colleagues on the Falls Prevention and Santa Clara Task Force, and all the many people behind me who have been offering the programs and services that help to reduce falls in our community and increase active aging. Thank you.
Next item to take up is the consent calendar. Are there matters the council members would like to pull off the calendar for individual discussion? I have no request to move anything. We have no request to speak on a consent calendar, I think. All right. Have a motion to approve the consent calendar. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Unopposed? Consent calendar is approved. Item 3.1, report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'd simply like to note for members of the public that might be curious that our city manager is traveling on city business this week at the annual conference of the International City County Management Association in Boston. She'll be returning later this week. ICMA is the national and international organization whose mission is to create excellence in local government by developing and fostering professional management to better communities. ICMA held their annual conference here in San Jose back in 2010. I'm sure with the city manager's recent announcement of her retirement, she is receiving well-deserved accolades from her colleagues. That concludes my report.
Our next item is 3.3. It's a settlement in the Gonzalez-Guerrero versus City of San Jose matter.
Just to note, the staff report is in your packet, and I'm here to answer any questions.
We have a motion to approve the settlement. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. It's approved. Item 3.5 are actions related to the approvals of citywide insurance renewals. We have a motion to approve. Questions on that, City Clerk? Okay, we got the motion to approve. Councilmember Liccardo.
Mayor, I'm sorry, just to clarify, are we on 3.4?
3.4 was dropped.
Yeah, so we're on 3.6, correct?
There's two insurance-related things. So 3.5 is the first one. That's the citywide renewals, and then there's a 3.6 is the early retiree reinsurance program.
Thank you. Yes, I just had one question on 3.5 then. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there, oh, great. Thank you,
Julie Cooper will come down to ask questions or answer questions.
Hi, Julia. Regarding the terrorism risk insurance, is that something we're required to carry by federal law?
No.
I'm just wondering, given the high deductible, or the equivalent of deductible, I guess it's $5 million, and given what we know about what FEMA is likely to do in the case of a major attack, I'm just wondering if this is something that would otherwise be carried essentially through the federal government by virtue of FEMA's response, and whether it makes sense for us to be carrying liability insurance for an act that's likely to result in declaration of disaster by the federal government that would give us federal money anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're not recommending that we carry it overall, but in a couple of policies, like on the airport owners and operator, it's included as part of the premium. So it's one of the insurances we're not recommending coverage to carry.
Well, actually, I'm referring to page 5, so it's the portion that we are carrying.
No, it's no. Number 5 is insurance not recommended.
Okay, so we are not going to carry that portion.
Correct.
We're carrying. Okay, it's a little confusing because there's actually a sentence in the end that says this year's insurance renewal includes airport liability and police aircraft liability, correct? So we are carrying it as to the airport.
Yeah, yes, because it's covered at no additional charge, no additional cost.
Okay, got it. That's very helpful. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. That's approved. 3.6, another insurance item, actions related to the early retiree reinsurance program. Councilmember Liccardo.
Thank you, Mayor. One more question. Was this for Julia or Alex or anyone else? Thank you, Alex.
Alex Gers is going to get the first call.
Alex, I recognize that there are real limitations in terms of what we can use this funding for. What I'm not clear about is, given the fact that we have an unfunded liability on the order of about $1.5 billion, give or take $100 million here, why we can't simply use this funding to pay for the future difference, since we're not yet up to full pre-funding. We'd like to be, but we're not there yet. Why can't we use this to cover the difference between the amount that is being paid by city and employees and the amount that we need to pay off our obligation over 30 years?
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember LICCARDO. Alex Skurza, Deputy City Manager. These funds are actually part of the federal government's Affordable Care Act, and there are very specific limitations on what the money can be used for. I think you're referring to the liability of retiree health care. This money is not just for offset the cost of retiree health care, but also active health care. And it must be used to offset health benefit costs. We work very carefully with the retirement department as well as their tax counsel to ensure that it was being structured in a way that was permissible. So it has to offset the costs that the participants have paid for premiums. So that's why it's structured in the way that it is.
Okay, so there's really, this is the only legal path we have for using this money.
Well, there are some alternatives of how we could have structured it in terms of how we determine who gets how much, but there are limits of the flexibility and how we disperse the funds.
Okay, understood. And then the other question I have relates to the top of page 4. Reads the $5 billion for the ERRP, the federal program, was expended before claims for the city's Kaiser plan could be processed. Therefore, no funds were reimbursed for those claims. Yes. Help me understand, is that on the federal government for their failure to process, or was that on our end, or was that on insurance?
Well, first, entities were allowed, employers were allowed to submit for these reimbursements. There was a set amount of money put aside. Our human resources staff took the initiative to apply for both Kaiser and Blue Shield, but many things had to be submitted, and that also took information provided by Kaiser. And then once everything was submitted, then disbursements were made up until the money was expended. So we were successful on the Blue Shield part. It's just by the time everything was submitted, including by Kaiser, there weren't any funds left available. So we were very lucky in that we did receive, almost $2.88 million, but it's only for the Blue Shield portion.
Okay, so there was nothing we could have done to have qualified for the Kaiser claims.
We did what we needed to do on our end, so it wasn't anything on our end that we didn't do. We did submit it. It was just by the time they received all the information that was required in addition from us that there were no longer any funds available.
Understood. Thanks, Alex.
Okay, you're welcome.
I'll move to approve this item.
Motion is to approve item 3.6. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. That's approved. Item 4.1, operations and maintenance agreement for Mexican and Heritage Plaza. We'll take a minute for staff to get down, and will be a staff presentation.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Norberto Dueñas, Deputy City Manager. Sitting here with me today from staff, Public Works, Matt Morley, Carrie Adams-Hapner, and Kim Wallish from the Office of Economic Development and the Office of Cultural Affairs. In a memo back in May of 2011, co-authored by Mayor Reed, Councilmember Campos, Councilmember Herrera, Councilmember KALRA, and Councilmember LICCARDO, you gave us direction to set up the Advisory Committee on Permanent Governance. And that was after 2 years of extensive work from the Mexican Heritage Plaza Steering Committee. What we have before you today is the final step in this process and this project that has brought us to today. The vision of the plaza as a regional destination, we believe, has become a reality. The vision for a sustainable business model for this site, which is a successful School of Arts and Culture, is working and has been incubated at that site. This would not have been possible without the commitment of the community and obviously the city leadership. As the chair of the Advisory Committee on Permanent Governance, my work was very easy thanks to all the individuals that supported this effort, and I would like to take a couple of minutes to mention them. On the city team, Kim Wallish, Carrie Adams-Hapner, from the City Attorney's Office, Liz Klotz, Matt Morley, Arlene Biala, Heather Todd from the Budget Office, Diego Barragan from District 5, Councilmember Campos's office, and Jose Salcido from the Mayor's office, both of whom attended every single one of our public meetings. Also would like to recognize the School of Arts and Culture team, Tamara Alvarado, the Executive Director, Vanessa Shi, the Associate Director, Lilia Agüero, the Director of Education, Nelly Torres, and then the board members that I had the honor and privilege of working with for a number of months. Connie Martinez, Carmen Siegler, Roy Hirabayashi, Elisa Orona, Peter Jensen, and Miguel Salinas. Again, we appreciate the work of all that have participated in this effort. Carrie Adams and Hapner will walk us through a few slides.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I am incredibly excited to be here with you this afternoon making this recommendation, and this recommendation has been 5 years in the making. I'd like to give you a snapshot of our timeline. In 2008, the Mexican Heritage Corporation turned over the operations of MHP to the city. The city then managed a transition process and facility operations. From 2009 to 2011, a steering committee formed by the council developed a new vision and business plan for a School of Arts and Culture at MHP, which was then approved by the City Council. At that time, several community-based organizations were approached to assess their interest in running a school at the site. For various reasons, none were interested. The steering committee then approached First Act Silicon Valley and asked it to incubate a new organization, a School of Arts and Culture. First Act agreed, and in 2011, the City Council approved a 3-year agreement with First Act to operate a school through June 2014. The school subsequently became an independent 501c3 and took over the responsibilities of the city contract. When this council approved the 3-year O&M agreement, it also established the Advisory Committee on Permanent Governance, or the ACPG, and the role of the ACPG was to actively participate in the identification of a permanent operator. The ACPG held 7 public meetings and met on a quarterly basis. It developed criteria for a permanent operator and a process for making its recommendation. In the spirit of transparency and to ensure broad outreach, the ACPG recommended that the city issue a request for letters of interest. The RFLOI was sent to a list of almost 500 contacts comprised of community-based organizations, the MHP contact list, and philanthropic foundations. 1 letter was submitted to the city by the School of Arts and Culture. Based on its submittal and an interview with the school leadership team, at its May meeting, the ACPG unanimously approved a recommendation that the city should enter into a long-term operations and maintenance agreement with the School of Arts and Culture as the permanent operator of the facility. The Arts Commission and the Community and Economic Development Committee both enthusiastically endorsed this recommendation at their August meetings. The school has accomplished a lot since its inception just 2 years ago. On average, there are 1,200 weekly visitors to the facility. Last year, the school engaged 10,000 students through on-site classes and partnerships. It has formed an independent board of directors, many of whom have served on the ACPG or the MHP steering committee and thus have a true commitment to this vision. Fundraising is a responsibility of every board and senior staff member. The school has a diversified funding stream, which is healthy. It has a revenue model that is approximately 1/3 city O&M contract, 1/3 contributed revenue, whether grants or donations, and 1/3 earned revenue through tuition and registrations and facility rentals. Like a marriage, an O&M agreement is a long-term partnership. Staff is recommending a 15-year agreement with 2 10-year options to extend. The recommended O&M amount is $450,000 in years 1 through 5, and then it drops to $425,000 in years 6 and beyond. Maintenance and capital repairs are important facets of this agreement, for which both the school and the city have responsibilities. The school will provide daily maintenance and be responsible for capital costs under $2,500. As with most facilities, capital maintenance is the responsibility of the city, and so the city will be responsible for any capital repairs over $2,500. We are recommending the continuation of an annual MHP capital maintenance appropriation. For years 1 through 5, we're recommending $50,000, and for years 6 and beyond, it would grow to $100,000. And in conclusion, it is our youth, our families, and our future leaders that are the true beneficiaries of this agreement. Providing a positive outlet for students to learn, express themselves, and connect to heritage is powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the staff presentation. Councilmember Campos.
Thank you, Mayor. Would you prefer to hear comments from the public before I make the motion?
I would. That
Okay,
would be
so why
good.
don't
We
go
do
ahead and
have
do that?
requests to speak. Let's do that at this time. Arturo Magana, Armando Castellano, Tamara Alvarado. Just come on down. And if you have some order in which you prefer to speak and get that organized, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamara Alvarado. I'm the Executive Director of the School of Arts and Culture. So briefly, I just want to say thank you to all the city staff and the council and the mayor for your ongoing support. I believe it's been 6 years in the making for this day. Well, there's been many more years than that in the making for this day. But in terms of this community process, so we just want to say that we see ourselves as stewards of the plaza. We appreciate all the hard work that the community has already invested into multiple processes along the way to get here. So we would appreciate the opportunity to be in a long-term agreement in order to be able to tell the community we are here for the long term. And when we say the community, there's multiple communities. There's the immediate community, there's Plata Arroyo, there's Mayfair, there's the East Side, there's San Jose, there's the Bay Area, and then there's the country. Occasionally we get visitors. So having said that, we also want to make sure that you know and understand that this agreement makes us more competitive, should you choose to approve it, within the philanthropic sector. It will help organizations, funders, take us more seriously. It's important for them to know and understand what sort of agreement do you have with the city of San Jose. We've been asked that question, and we always say we have a very good relationship, and we are in an interim place, moving towards permanent. So again, we appreciate all the support of all the council members, and I think I'll let somebody else speak now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Arturo Magaña, and I'm here to represent Los Lupeños de San Jose. We are a 43-year-old organization, and we've been part of the Mexican Heritage Plaza since its door opened. We've seen all the phases of management through the plaza, and the current business model that the School of Arts and Culture has been an amazing assistance and support for Los Lupeños. We feel very proud to be part of the Mexican Heritage Plaza, and would hope and recommend that the school continues. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Armando Castellano, and I am a member of the Castellano family and also a trustee of the Castellano Family Foundation and a member of their board of directors. I am here as a longtime supporter of the plaza to ask that you approve the advisory committee's recommendation that the School of Arts and Culture at the Mexican Heritage Plaza become the permanent operator of the plaza. My entire family, especially my father, have been longtime supporters of the plaza since its inception. My father has sat on the transition committee, and it is with great pride that he and our family see this important step happen. Personally, as a graduate of the Multicultural Arts Leadership Institute of the School of Arts and Culture, I can speak to the exemplary job that they are doing in developing future leaders. In addition, I have attended many events at the plaza, and I have even performed there myself. And I truly appreciate the honest, reflective, and authentic way they approach programming and community engagement. Because the plaza and our family foundation share so much of our mission and values, and because they are such a strong community ally, we hope to continue partnering and supporting them in fostering a creative and vibrant community service agency. I truly hope you approve this advisory committee's recommendation, and I look forward to a lasting and exciting future at the School of Arts and Culture at the Mexican Heritage Plaza. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Gabriel Pardo. I represent UR San Jose. UR San Jose, without a question, is very grateful with the new turn of the School of Arts and Culture in supporting and being the bridge, allow us to be the bridge with artists, bringing artists from different parts of the Bay Area, not just San Jose. We are actually working and collaborating with the Plaza and bringing different programs as Villa Navideña, Navidad en Mexico, the paintings of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera, as a way not just to present a production, but also to engage the community that surround the plaza, as well as the whole community in San Jose. And definitely that's only possible with the support of the School of Arts and Culture and Tamara Alvarado. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to activate the way we are activating the plaza without the support of the plaza. So I am definitely pro for the School of Arts and Culture to be the permanent operator of the School of Arts and Culture. Thank you.
Rose Amador, Hester Perales Dickman, Connie Martinez.
Rose Amador. On behalf of the LASA Roundtable, I urge the Council to approve the Advisory Committee's recommendation to have the School of Arts and Culture at MHP as its permanent operator. Having strong and vital cultural spaces benefit our children by giving them a strong sense of identity, which helps them become more resilient. A long-term agreement signals to the community that the city is serious about its investment in the community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Esther Perales Dickman. For identification purposes only, I'm the director of the Office of Women's Policy for the County of Santa Clara, and I'm here today as an individual. I'm here to speak in support of awarding permanent governance to the School of Arts and Culture. Not only do they offer world-class performances and a wide array of programs to promote arts, culture, and education, and not only have they operated and shown a sound track record in financial management, most importantly, they provide important opportunities for the city, the county, and other governmental institutions to reach communities that have historically been underserved and underreached in our community. Some of the recent events that we've been involved with, that I have been involved with as a parent, are the summer programs. My son is a dyslexic student who has a lot of a need for opportunities to succeed and have recognition. He gets that every summer with the programming at the School of Arts and Culture. We've also had a Strong Girls, Strong Women conference that drew women not only across San Jose, but across the South Bay area. And it was a conference for 250 women and girls. We just on Friday had a training for 125 providers and employers to increase their awareness about federal wage and labor law, resources under the Affordable Care Act, services and resources for survivors of domestic violence and their families. It is an important link to the community. They have shown a track record of being operators that are responsible, fiscally sound, and it is a great investment. As a taxpayer in San Jose, I wholeheartedly want to urge you to consider this investment that will benefit our families in San Jose. Thank you.
Hi, Connie Martinez with Silicon Valley Creates. The School of Arts and Culture did not just happen. Like most great things, it took a team. And I'm really here to thank all of those who participated. Thank you to City Council and the First Act Board for trusting us. To the city staff for your professionalism and hard work. They represent you very, very well. You should be proud. To the community for their participation. To the steering committee and the permanent governance for their thoughtful leadership. And lastly, but certainly not least, the homegrown team, Tamara, Vanessa, Lilia, Nellie, Arnold, and all of our partners for giving it their all. We all took a risk and we all won. How often does that happen? It's very exciting. And yes, we are ready to get married, as Carrie said, because now we have a vibrant, vital, and viable cultural facility that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Ninfa Shakari, Gabriel Pisto, and I'm guessing about some of these names based on my bad eyes and poor handwriting. Omar Torres, Peter Allen, and anybody else who put in a card whose name I messed up so bad you didn't recognize.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ninfa, this is Cyrus, and this is Jacob. We're here to support the School of Arts and Culture. We're very grateful to have them in our community. They've been such a blessing to us. My children's confidence is boosted. They've attended 2 summer camps there. They're doing great in school. Such wonderful role models that we have there. All their maestros and maestras, so positive, so talented, just a wonderful staff. It's been a very nice experience for us. Would you like to say a few words?
Hello, my name is Cyrus Shakari, and I'd like to say that the School of Arts and Culture is a good environment because we learn a lot. We learn a lot, and it's also fun. I hope we could do it again.
Thank you. Jakey, would you like to say some words?
The School of Arts and Culture was very nice.
What else?
It's a very good environment for a lot of kids. I learned there was art, guitar, recorder, and that's all. And we support the School of Arts and Culture.
Thank you very much for your time.
Omar Torres, Peter Allen, and somebody from UArt, but I can't read the name very well.
Good afternoon. Omar Torres, a downtown resident. I've worked with Tamara Alvarado for many, many years. She's known me since I was 15 years old. And I love to say, she probably doesn't know it, but I love to say to other people that everything that she touches turns to gold. And the Mexican Heritage Plaza is a jewel, not just for East San Jose, but for our whole South Bay. And actually today, at the Mexican Heritage Plaza, I attended a great event for community and nonprofit leaders that's going to help us grow. And that was just a pretty amazing event today that happened this morning. And just recently, a couple weeks ago, I actually also attended the first ever Quinceañera at the Mexican Heritage Plaza, where LGBT Latino artists can come and showcase the wonderful work that they do, whether it's poetry, whether it's dancing, whether it's spoken word. But those are the types of events that are happening at Mexican Heritage Plaza. And those are the type of events that should continue to be happening at the Mexican Heritage Plaza. So I hope that you vote to keep the School of Arts and Culture as the proprietor for Mexican Heritage Plaza. Thank you.
Mayor and council members, Peter Allen with the City of San Jose Arts Commission. Good to see you all today. I'm here to enthusiastically support the recommendation from the ACPG. First, wearing my hat as an arts commissioner, I want to let you know that unanimously the Arts Commission voted to endorse this recommendation. We think it's the right way to go. Wearing another hat, I'm also managing director at Teatro Visión de San Jose, which is our local Latino Chicano theater company with 30 years of work in the community, and we've been overjoyed to work with the staff at the School of Arts and Culture so far. They're going to be presenting our upcoming production of Macario next month, and they've been a valuable community partner to us. They really do embrace, and I'm sure, I didn't get to hear their comments earlier, but I'm sure they mentioned the culture of yes, which really means doing whatever it takes to ensure viable, affordable programming for the community. And in Teatro's case, they certainly have helped us a great deal to stay viable. And then thirdly, my third hat would be as just a patron of the school and of the plaza lately. I've just been amazed at the variety of programming they have. In the last year, I was just noting to myself, I've attended a holiday celebration, a school recital, for-profit and nonprofit arts events, receptions, workshops, and so many more things. They do a fantastic job of activating that space, and I enthusiastically support the recommendation, and I hope you all approve it today. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I believe that's everybody who wanted to speak. So that concludes public testimony. I'll come back to Councilmember Campos.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, I wanted to thank all of the folks that got involved in this. Norberto, Carrie, Kim, Connie, Tamara, the board. I mean, we don't have enough fingers on this council to count how many people really got involved in this. You know, this journey started, I believe, in 1999 when it opened. It took a long time to get it right. And there's this saying that you tackle big problems with big solutions. I think we finally found our solution. And, you know, I think it's a testament, these two children that came to testify in front of the council, they're two of thousands that have gone through the plaza and the School of Arts and Culture, you know, over the last couple of years. And, you know, my vision, especially as, you know, we put our 2040 general plan together, you know, what's to say someone from the Mission in San Francisco doesn't jump on Caltrain, catch the BRT that will stop in front of the plaza to attend a class. You know, that's thinking ahead of time. That's thinking to the future. That's looking at a global Bay Area. And again, my hat's off to everyone that really that had the courage to take this on, because I'm sure, you know, and I see Connie smiling, it wasn't an easy decision. And with that, Mayor, I'd like to put forward my memo that you signed with me to support the staff recommendation to enter into an agreement with the School of Arts and Culture.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I'm certainly going to support the motion. I just want to take a moment to thank the staff and the committee members and all of the people from the community that have stepped up over the past few years and done a lot of work to figure out what was the best solution for the Mexican Heritage Plaza, which is a very important facility for the people of San Jose. And I just want to say that I'm pleased that we're going to be able to move forward. I think this is a great solution. And you know, I never want to give up on the concept that we're celebrating our Mexican heritage at this plaza, and that belongs to all of the people of San Jose. And it's a unique site where Cesar Chavez started the great boycott, and with Safeway that used to be on the site. So there's a lot of local history, but hundreds of years of San Jose history. Hopes and aspirations of a lot of people are on this. So I'm really happy that we've got this outcome. Of course, there's plenty of hard work ahead, many things yet to be done, but at least we have tremendous prospects and great success to build on. So I want to thank the community members, many of whom stepped up with only a small amount of arm twisting to step into a difficult situation, and you've made it a lot better. We appreciate that. Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you, Mayor. And I, too, want to add my congratulations and support for the motion that's on the floor right now. This was heard at the Community and Economic Development Committee, and since I've been on the council 5 years now, going on the 5th year, I've been involved in this project and being on the Economic Development Committee. And I think, we have to, it's important to remember that economic development, the first word in that committee is community. And cultural affairs and cultural programming is part of a strong economic development portfolio. We can't succeed as a city. We're not going to grow and become the greatest city we can be without strong cultural arts programming. And so Mexican Heritage Plaza is part of that. So I've been very happy to watch and work with those who have been moving this forward. I want to say particularly thank you to Connie Martinez, First Act. I remember when that program was moving along. Tamara Alvarado is a gem, and she's an entrepreneur. If she wasn't doing this, she could be out in Silicon Valley starting some company, startup or something, because that's the kind of person she is. And we need that kind of energy and vision and commitment and tenacity to move this thing forward, and her entire group. So you've got the right folks on the team moving this thing forward. Our staff here at the city's just been fabulous. Kim Wallish, Carrie Adams Hapner, everybody on the city side too. Really appreciate all of the work you've done. So, when you look at this just from a purely economic standpoint, and because I'm on community economic development, I just want to say, we're doing some good things here. At one point, we had been spending $826,000, that much money at its high point for this. So we're actually reducing the annual cost, which is a testament to the good business planning that was put together. So this group is executing a very good business plan, and they are following it and they're making it happen. And I think it's really noteworthy the fact that they are reaching out and getting 1/3 of their income, earned income, from folks that are coming there. They're also 1/3 from the city of San Jose and 1/3 from sponsors. So they've got a great plan. They're not overly depending on the city of San Jose. And the other thing to keep in mind is we own this building. We own this building, and it's not likely to become something else anytime soon if we didn't move forward with this. So I think it's important just to look at the numbers too, to look at why this is a good business decision as well as the right thing to do for the community. All things are lining up now, and I was thinking of the analogy of a marriage. Somebody mentioned, I think Connie said something about getting married, so I'm ready to say I do. I've been through the courtship, been through the engagement. I'm ready to say I do. I think this is great, and be supporting this motion. Thanks so much.
Councilmember CAMIS.
Yeah, I too had some misgivings about using some taxpayer funds to support a permanent outcome to this center. I actually thank staff for coming to my office and explaining the history and some of the things that went on before this, and actually got a couple phone calls and a couple of emails on this issue from my constituents asking me not to vote for it, but I'm in the process of explaining to them why I do feel now that I can support this measure. And as Councilmember Herrera said, I learned that we were spending more to run it ourselves than we are going to be in subsidizing the current office, and I know that it is a good benefit to our community, and I'm in favor of doing that as well. What I also learned is that 1/3 the money that we are subsidizing this program is only 1/3 of the actual cost, and the community is going to be doing the heavy lifting and making sure that the center stays operating without any other subsidies from the city, and I thank them and I wish them luck in that endeavor. I also did some research on the bonds and why other avenues were not considered, because we actually have some really convoluted bond measure language in there that will not even allow us to make a net profit or net gain on this. If in fact they were to become profitable in the future, we couldn't. This is what was explained to me. We couldn't even accept the money, or we would be in violation of tax special status tax situation. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know I did the research, and this is actually what changed my mind on this. I think for our taxpayers. It does make sense at this time, and I wish them luck. I don't know that I would have made a permanent situation out of it personally if it was me doing the paperwork, but I am willing to support the motion as it stands, and I wish all of you luck, and I wish you success in the future in making this a viable organization and make it a pillar for a golden opportunity for our community. Thank you.
Councilor Liccardo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to echo the praise. When I came into office in 2007, everyone talked about all the obstacles to getting anything to develop at Mexican Heritage Plaza and all the challenges in being able to find a sustainable model. And now everyone is talking about opportunities, and that transformation from obstacles to opportunities happened because, like all things in this city, somebody in the community decided to take leadership. So I want to start with the folks who took leadership over at First Act, Connie Martinez and Tamara Alvarado in their prior lives and now in their current lives. Thank you both for your willingness to step up. It's certainly a big community and a city that are grateful for your leadership. I also want to thank the board members who have been there. I know Carmen Sigler's and many others who have been, the Castellano family I know has been involved both as board and as funders. There are a lot of folks to take credit for this out in the community, and certainly the great arts groups like Los Lupeños and Teatro, we're very grateful for all they're doing to contribute to the vitality of the center. This is really a remarkable comeback story. America loves comebacks, and this is a big one. And I really wanted to echo the point that Tamara made on the podium about the fact that foundations really need to know you're going to be around, or else we won't be able to leverage all that other money that's out there. And I think we can now shout it from the mountaintops that the School of Arts and Culture is here to stay. So go get all that money. Thanks.
Councilmember KALRA.
Thank you, Mayor. And I join my colleagues on the praise of our city staff and, of course, so many partners from the community. I want to thank Councilmember Campos and Mayor Reed. I know their staff has been overseeing a lot of the work that's been done over the past many months and years. And Board Chairs Sigler and the entire board for all the work and oversight, and the permanent governance members with our very own Roberto Duenas as chair, and all the other members, and of course our staff, Dave, Kim, Carrie, and everyone that's been working so hard on this. And I think ultimately the best speakers were those children that spoke. So I think that was the vision when we all kind of came together and said, what can we do with this site to make it more inclusive, to bring the surrounding community, kind of break down the walls, so to speak, to allow this to really become a great asset for the community. And it's those children that really, I think, is the reason why we do a long-term permanent solution as well. And I really want to thank Tamara Alvarado for her leadership. And there's got to be someone that takes the lead. Although it's, as Javier mentioned, it was dozens, even hundreds of people that really came together to make this happen. You do have to have someone that provides the overall leadership. And I'm just excited because this was a very perilous situation not too long ago. And frankly, I hope. I'm thankful to Councilmember CAMIS for doing his homework and really doing his research as opposed to just having a knee-jerk reaction. I think that that's something that I commend you for, because there's a lot of times when we do have spending that occurs here that doesn't get the oversight that it might need. And this is one situation where this received a tremendous amount of oversight, and I think has come out with a positive impact to our budget as well as to our community. And frankly, a lot of our other assets that oftentimes, especially during difficult times, come to us to get some assistance to keep them going. I think that they should be looking at this model and to see what's been done here to reduce future liability from the city to keep some of our other assets going, because I think this has really been a community effort to leverage as much as possible the support from all corners of our community. And I don't think we've necessarily held other assets accountable in the way that we've held the Mexican Heritage Plaza accountable for a lot of reasons. But I think that it's made certainly the plaza stronger, and they've come out stronger. I think the same can happen with other assets that continually run into financial issues and require us to bail them out time and again. I think that that there may be opportunities to hold them to the same standard that we held the plaza, and they will come out stronger as well. And so I'm glad that we've had this process as an example, and it was a very difficult, arduous process, because the first time you do something is the most difficult time, and this is the first time that we've really seen this kind of partnership come through in such a powerful way. And I'm hopeful that by example, other city assets will not have to go through as much work to get to the same result. And so I know we have so many now that, and the great part about this is all of you that are here, and those that are members of the board and the members of this team are going to be asked and called on again when we need you again. And I know you'll step up again, because that's the kind of community we have. And so I want to congratulate everyone for the result we had. There's still, as the mayor said, a lot of work to do. But with this foundation, I'm very confident that this school and this plaza are going to be very successful and be an asset for decades to come.
Councilmember Chu.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely want to add my congratulations and appreciation for all your work. Nice to see you here, Carmen. Haven't seen you since you retired from San Jose State. It's really nice to know that you're on the board. I think earlier this summer, or even before summer, I took early instrument lesson, at the plaza, right? And I run into Damian Trujillo and many of the very, very diverse group of students, and talked to some of the parents, and they're so very, very happy for your services. So I want to also thank Javier Campos and Mayor Reed for your leadership. I'll be supporting the motion.
Councilmember Oliverio.
Thank you, Mayor Reed. I wanted to mention to all the folks that are involved, there are many in the audience that have worked on this. Appreciate your passion and work, and obviously you provide a benefit to children across the city. I as well, as Councilmember CAMIS brought up, looked at what are the other options. And what I see before me is a good organization that does good work, that I have nothing but good things to say. But then on the other side, I look at what the options are. And the options are, seeing it from this vantage point, is that about every other month, I have a charter school come forward to the city council that wants to buy a piece of land and wants to build a school. And oftentimes these are in areas that are extremely difficult for us to manage because the parcel's too small, the traffic impacts, et cetera, et cetera. Yet they're willing to spend money to go do these things. And here we have a facility that's on 6 acres, 55,000 square feet of programmable space. So to me, it begs the question, wouldn't I be better off on a fiscal manner of simply, instead of approving another charter school yet in another neighborhood where the residents are going to be upset because of traffic, to instead have that charter school come here to Mexican Heritage Plaza, where I would have no cost for me to pay anything on a subsidy anymore, and where the agreement could be such that the charter school allows usage for arts groups, being yourselves or Teatro Visión, at the existing facility. But then I don't have to subsidize this for 35 years. I think that's an option that has been staring at me in the face every time another charter school comes forward to request land zoning per their particular manner. So that's an area I would want to pursue. I know that if we strictly sold the facility, the money could only be used to pay off the bonds, which were used to build it. It couldn't be used on something in the general fund. Some would say paying off those bonds would be a good idea because you would reduce the city's debt. On the other side of the fence, you wouldn't have this facility. So there is a pro-con here. I think, though, I fall on the other side of the fence of wanting to partner with one of the many charter schools and Silicon Valley millionaires that are bankrolling them to see if we could have another option where we could still have a School of Arts and Culture, but not necessarily a 35-year exclusive agreement.
Councilor Rocha.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to support the motion and appreciate the leadership of the mayor and Councilmember Campos as well. And again, reiterate my awe in the folks and the individuals that put in time and make San Jose a better place. Truly the work that you do makes our job up here extremely easy, and I thank all of you, staff and community members alike. Thank you.
I think that concludes the council discussion. Councilmember Campos has the motion on the floor. Any further discussion on that? On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Councilmember Oliverio opposed. Councilmember Constant is out of town. Councilmember Vice Mayor Nguyen is out of town. So that motion does pass. Congratulations. Thank you for your work. I'll now turn to item 4.2. It's the North San Jose Traffic Impact Fee Incentive Program. I want to take a minute to explain how we got here today and why this is in front of the council. First, I just want to note that I am wearing a super micro tie today. And those of you who saw the news in the last 24 hours know that Super Micro is in contract to acquire the Mercury News site, so they can stay here and grow here, and hopefully they'll be submitting for a major project to improve that site and continue their expansion. And they're staying in Council District 4, so I know Councilor Chu happy, because he and I have both worked with them over the years to try to help them succeed. So it is a bright day for Super Micro, and we're really pleased with that. I started on this project of trying to get major investors and projects in North San Jose in 2001 when I first came into office, and we were essentially out of capacity for employment in North San Jose because we had limited ourselves to a floor area ratio of 0.35 at a time when most of the other cities in the county were doing much higher densities. And we eventually went through a lot of work, time and effort by our staff, and came up with a North San Jose policy and guidelines that we adopted in somewhere around 2006 with the intention of facilitating job growth in North San Jose. It is a jobs policy. That was the reason we did it, and that is the most important element of it. But 4 or 5 years ago, I got concerned that we weren't seeing much activity in North San Jose as a result of this policy. And so I began talking to property owners, developers, and CEOs of companies about why that was the case. And I learned a few things. Time and cost. And when the economy began to improve, time and costs were still going to be important. And there was a perception that our North San Jose development guidelines were too rigid and that it cost too much money to pay our fees and taxes in North San Jose. In 2012, the council gave direction to make some modifications on the policy regarding grid streets and height limits, and to reduce the traffic impact fee from roughly $13 a foot to $5 a foot. Now, back 4 or 5 years ago, when I first started talking to developers and owners, one of the sets of people I specifically talked to was Perry Arriaga, because they had this prime piece of real estate right at North First Street in Brokaw, and I thought would be a fantastic place for a major corporate expansion. And they said $13 is too much. Well, at the time it wasn't even $13, but the traffic impact fee was too much. And so in January of 12, when we reduced it to $5 for a limited period of time for some projects, I went back to Perry Arriaga and I said, how about $5? And they said, it's still too much. And I told them shortly thereafter if they would bring a major corporate project in, that I would ask the council to reconsider that fee. And they have done that. They filed a preliminary application for probably a couple of million square feet for a corporate user that they've yet to name. And so I'm bringing this in front of the council to recommend that we drop the fee on a temporary basis to $2 a foot for major corporate projects, and by that I mean over 1 million square feet. We've had many ups and downs in the Silicon Valley economy since I've been living in the valley and since I've been on the council and mayor. And I know this window of opportunity that we have right now where the economy is growing and companies are expanding rapidly will not last. What I don't know is, will it last 6 months, a year, or 2 years? I don't really know. But I do know we have a window of opportunity, and if we miss the window of opportunity, we could wait another decade before we see the kind of opportunities for expansion that we have now. In North San Jose, as a result of the plan that we adopted back in '06, we have, on paper, substantial increased employment capacity, like 26 million square feet. But yet the policy is not producing jobs in very large quantities. We've had some successes, but we've had a lot more success converting employment lands to residential. We've converted over 100 acres. And we have thousands of units that are under construction and thousands more that have been approved. So in January of 2012, we took the policy direction to try to incentivize people to do major job improvement in North San Jose, to reduce the red tape a little bit, reduce the fees, and to give policy direction about what our intentions were. As noted in the staff report, we are at a competitive disadvantage on the traffic impact fee. It's one of the problems that we face. We're funding future traffic improvements with current developments. Most other cities are not. They're funding out of current developments. We've already spent a lot of money in North San Jose creating transportation capacity, much to the benefit of cities to the north and the west who are expanding, and their employees are driving through our city, or our residents are driving to their jobs. But we have a lot of transportation capacity. But we also have to look at time and cost. So I've recommended some changes that we direct staff to make some changes in the guidelines, bring those back to us so that we can consider them. I appreciate the comments of my colleagues to look at a broader picture in some cases and look at other solutions on the traffic impact fee, because we do need transportation dollars, and we should figure out a way to do that. I'm not recommending blanket changes to the guidelines, but I do think we need to take a look at them. What I am recommending is that this council, make a clear statement of policy about what we want to do with the opportunities that we face in North San Jose, the statement of policy that can be brought back to us in specific language with guidelines later on. And then finally, I want to commend our staff for working at the speed of business as they have done time and time again. The success we've had in North San Jose and the rest of the city is in large parts due to our ability to work at the speed of business. So the Perry Arriaga submittal of a preliminary review request was turned around by our staff in 2 weeks. This is a big project, a couple million square feet, a lot of things to look at, and staff did a great job of getting on it, getting the comments back, so we can send a message to them, yes, we will work at the speed of business, and we'll prove it once again that we can do that, because the staff has proved it over and over again. And that'll be really important in convincing them ultimately to write the really big checks, to make the really big investments, to actually start construction. So I want to thank staff for that. And I'm prepared to answer any questions anybody has about the reasons we need to move ahead if my memos and comments weren't clear. I think it's important to have a council discussion, as I think the council certainly wants to see economic development, and North San Jose is a huge opportunity, but it is complicated, and I think requires whatever discussion we need in order to move in the right direction. Councilmember Liccardo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple quick questions. Anyone from OED or planning could respond, I'd be grateful. One is, if you could articulate, since the 2005 plan was created, and I know it was amended again in '09, and we've had subsequent revisions, but under that initial fee that was set, which was I think $10 and escalated up to about $13.50, have we had any industrial or commercial projects pay that fee?
Yes, we have.
How many?
Thus far, we have built the equivalent of about 1.6 million square feet of the 7 million in phase one. And of that, let's see, I would say probably about 1 million of that has paid the full fee.
Okay, so roughly 1 million square feet. Our target is we need to get 7 million to get through phase one before anyone can build another housing unit anywhere in the northern third of our city.
Now, the
northern
caveat
quarter.
I will put to that is the people that have paid the fee have generally not been industrial developers. They've been commercial developers.
It's retail.
So it's like the Target at first, the Club Auto Sport, the Lowe's, done a little bit of small additions to buildings of like 10,000, 20,000 square feet of industrial office space. They've paid it. But for like a 200,000 foot building, I don't think we've had one of them come through yet.
Okay, so we can't say there's a single significant tech employer that has moved into North San Jose, paid the fee that currently exists on the books, at least prior to the $5 incentive. Okay, I think that's awfully important to us as we think about this plan and the fact that we've had this in place now for 8 years. And it seems to me that we are not getting or attracting major tech tenants in what is essentially the breadbasket for the rest of the city in North San Jose. And I think we probably all agree that there's time for us to take a comprehensive look at how and where we assess fees. I wanted to thank the mayor and Rue Irakun particularly. I know they've been working very hard in negotiating with PIERLUIGI, and I haven't been involved in that, but I trust that when they say nothing's going to happen at the current rate, then we're not going to have anything happen at the current rate because, quite frankly, we've got a lot of evidence for that in the last few years. I guess the last question I had for you, Joe, was in a 2 million square foot site, I mean, I recall hearing a rough equivalent of about 5,000 employees for 1 million square feet. Is that roughly accurate?
I think that's a fair number. The one trend that's going on throughout the industry that I haven't gone back to figure out how it would apply to this is the tech companies, whether it's Adobe, Cisco, Google, they're all going through and putting employees at much higher densities than we've seen.
Right.
And that's my expectation that we would see in this case also, that it's designed for really dense employment.
So because of hoteling and open work areas, we're seeing a lot more employees per square foot.
Correct.
Well, I think whatever the number is, it's thousands, and it's important. And we've got a serious jobs housing imbalance in this city, particularly as we look at the region. So we should try to do everything we can to take advantage of it. With that, I wanted to thank Councilmember Don Rocha, who worked very hard, I think, to try to bridge what appears to be some differences, and certainly thank Councilmember Chu for his submission, which raises concerns I think we all share about very significant need for transportation improvements out in the future in North San Jose. And I very much appreciate the hard work Councilman Rocha and his staff. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion to approve Councilmember Rocha's memorandum, which I think incorporates several of the pertinent points of the differing memos. I'd like to offer a few oral amendments, which are primarily minor. And so let me describe those, and then I'll make the motion. First, in paragraph 2, we emphasize that this is not a waiver of the urban design guidelines, and any modifications will require council approval. Secondly, in paragraph 4, there's a typographical error on the second line, so it should read, defer action on the recommendations in the staff memo dated September 20th and bring back the recommendations contained in that staff memorandum at the same time as they bring back ordinance language. So that would be a minor change. In paragraph 4B, after the term community facilities district, add the words or other financing mechanism for public improvements to ensure we're taking a broad look at various mechanisms. I know that there's legislation now before the governor that may in fact expand our range of options for public improvements. And then finally, to add a new paragraph 6 to direct staff to reach out and communicate with VTA staff to explore implementation of a regional fee that would more equitably support transportation improvements. So I'd like to make those verbal modifications to the good work of Councilmember Rocha, and that would be my motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Councilmember Rocha, did you want to speak to the motion?
I'm fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Chu.
Thank you very much, Mayor. First of all, I wanted to reiterate that I'm really all for economic development. I'd like to try to say it again. It's on my flyer all over that my first priority is economic development. And that's why when I took the office in 2006, we immediately gathered the landowners, the developers, the laborers, the chambers, the environmental people, the water people together. We formed North San Jose Task Force, and we have, there was about 24 of us gathered once or twice a month for 18 months and came out with the North San Jose Neighborhood Plan. And during this period of time, nobody ever challenged the traffic impact fee of $13, or started with $10 with an inflation escalating costs. To now is sitting at $13.54. My understanding that is we pay a real high caliber consultant that did a study and come out with that number. It's not that something that the members on the dais or the staff just grab it from the thin air to say, well, this is $10 and we're gonna do the escalation. So by 2014, you should be sitting at $13.54. I'm sitting here not knowing what is our plan at that time when we set up the traffic impact fee to what projects that we do plan on spending that traffic impact fee. So I need some clarification, and I have asked the staff to call around the city manager's office, and so far I don't have a good answer. I don't know if anybody in on the dais or the staff in the chamber be able to answer. Why did they come up with $13.54? And back in 2001 or something like that, they are just totally all wrong, and we wasted the millions of dollars that we pay for that high caliber consultant, and that just they came out with a number we'd be able to just scratch it, and how do we come up with $2 per square feet? And knowing that the expansion or the improvement in Monterey, not Monterey, what's that expressway? Montego Expressway, the contractor walked away from the project, and the job was just left hanging there, cold. And haven't got an update on what's our city's plan to finish that Montego Expressway expansion. So I'm very, very concerned about the traffic impact that we put on those people that live in North San Jose. The people that live in North San Jose for 20 years never even have a park. They never had even a public park until last year. Now we're taking away their traffic improvement money, so we're definitely for the good cause, for the economic development. And I raised both my arms to say, hey, let's go, let's do the economic development. So my question first is, how do we come up with that $13.54, and then how do we come up with the $2? And then the next question is that this economic development is so close, so important to all of us, people on the dais and people out there. Why don't we make it this a citywide? Why don't North San Jose is not the only area that has a traffic impact fee. Other district has traffic impact fee. I mean, we have a land, the mayor was talking about not happening. There's a lot of things are not happening in North San Jose, but I see it differently. I see a lot of things happening. We're building 8,000 units, and we have just recently, we know Samsung is coming, and other small companies. I can name probably 4 or 5 of them. And if you're talking about nothing happening, look at further down in Evergreen, near the Evergreen College. We have industrial parkland reserve there. And that's probably been there for 20, 30 years. And nothing happening there. So why don't we make it a citywide incentive program, if we want to call it, and you just, chop all the traffic impact fee, or maybe using of the CNC money or whatever, the CIP money, that let's all put together jointly, all 10 districts, chip in some money into that pot of $42, $44 million for the residents of North San Jose. So we have been an economic engine. Yes, we have been a basket, like Councilmember LICCARDO was saying. We have been supporting the RDA for the last 10, 20 years. Now the residents in North San Jose have to bear the burden of the economic development for North San Jose, for the whole city. It's not fair. And North San Jose is in the RDA area. So the tax revenue generated from the new improvement will not go to the general fund, right? We still have a lot of that that we encumber in the RDA. So that's why, I would really, just to help me understand the 2 questions I have. How do we come up with that $13 or $10 started off in the traffic impact fee? And what are we going to use it?
So a little bit of context history. The North San Jose traffic fee was the result of an extensive analysis, as you pointed out, Councilmember Chu, where rather than looking at a project-by-project basis, we looked at what we thought was a reasonable build-out of North San Jose. It was not a full build-out. We looked at a much higher level of development in North San Jose originally and scaled it back to what's in the EIR and the policy. That said, with that amount of development and through the EIR process, we looked at what were mitigation measures that were necessary to address traffic issues in the North San Jose area. Housing is a traffic mitigation measure in North San Jose, as well as roadway improvements and transit improvements, and came up with a list of projects. We looked at engineering-wise, which are ones we thought were buildable and financially feasible, and estimated the cost for those projects in current dollars, meaning at the time 2000 or 2001 dollars, and came up with a total budget and divided that in the total amount of square footage, total amount of housing units, and came up with a traffic fee that at this point is about $13 a square foot for office space. We recognized that it was going to be a probably 20-year 30 years to build out that level of development in North San Jose, and that if we stayed at a 2000 or 2001 cost structure for the fee, we would never be able to build the infrastructure that was planned for. And so there were escalators that were built into the plan so that the council would not have to deal with every year the debate about should the fee go up or not. Is that the decision was made back then. The staff put forward the recommendation that the council approved to build that escalator in, but we did put provisions that said we would come back on a regular basis, and I think the plan talked about a 5-year cycle to do that, to relook at costs to see were we aiming too high or too low, so that we would reconcile back our fees with the cost to do construction in the area. Because there hasn't been a lot of activity, we have not proceeded with that part. That in itself will be an expensive project to go reconcile back those fees. But the reality is, we went through and put forward our best professional judgment of what improvements made sense in North San Jose, what we thought realistically we could compete for in the regional and state financing world, and not wanting to detract or take away money from other parts of the city where we needed state and federal dollars to build improvements there, is we kept those costs on development in North San Jose. Good, bad, or otherwise, that was the decision we made from a policy standpoint. I think what we have seen since then is, one, we've been successful in getting dollars from other sources to do other projects. So the 101 corridor in the Evergreen area, we've been able to attract a significant amount of money to finish projects there. We've attracted significant, I think all of the money, or just about all the money we've needed in the Stevens Creek 880 corridor in order to finance that interchange, which was the high priority for the city. And so we do think that there is some reconciling that can happen, but it is one that the $13 was based on a very solid nexus study. It was based on the policy decisions we made at that time, which were, I think, there was a lot of activity going on and continued optimism about what the growth trajectory looked like and what we could achieve here in San Jose, and that our expectation that other agencies, other cities would follow path of where we were going and do the right thing and address the impacts of development in their cities. We have not seen that happen. And so, I think that's where the question comes, should we go through and reevaluate how we deal with North San Jose, recognizing that is a large, contentious, complicated question to unpack and kind of bring back in front of the council.
And how did we get to the $2? Is that something that...
Let me explain that, because Joe doesn't know how we got there. As I explained earlier, we started out trying to figure out what it would take people to move ahead in North San Jose to make major investments. And one of those things identified was a problem was the large fee, which was $10, and then we reduced it to $5, and it's still a large fee. And so I told Perry Arriaga that if they would bring forward a major corporate project on their property, that I would ask the council to reduce the fee further, in hopes that that would be an incentive for them to move ahead. So there's no magic to the $2 fee. It's just a substantial reduction from the $5, and they will still pay millions of dollars for traffic improvements if they move forward with this project, about $4 million worth of traffic improvements. And of course, we've added another fee. There's another $1 million for borrowing out fee that they would also have to pay. The total fees and charges and taxes, et cetera, will be about $16 million, $15 to $16 million up front, and then probably $8 to $10 million a year in property taxes, which will go into the redevelopment agency and then get distributed, which will benefit us as well, since we're having to subsidize the redevelopment agency. And then utility taxes and business license fees and other things you might get would be on top of that. But there's no magic to the $2 number. I hope it will be sufficient to make the deal happen so that they can close the deal with their tenant, whoever that may be.
Would it be fair, Mayor, that we should offer this incentive to the other areas, zone industrial, like in the northern Coyote, Edenville, and Sunnyvale? Why we're putting all the burdens on the resident of North San Jose and not to spread the love, so we see more economic development in different areas of the city instead of all concentrated in North San Jose. North San Jose is building 8,000 units, and now we understand that there will be 5,000 jobs generated for every million square feet, and so we're talking about maybe 20,000 people that are going to be cramped into the North San Jose during the daytime, and we all know that North San Jose serves like a through traffic area for people living in Santa Clara that goes Milpitas to work, or people live in Milpitas that go to North San Jose, to Santa Clara or further north to work. The traffic in North San Jose is pretty bad. The road condition, if you drive on the North First Street close to 237, because of the recent construction, the road condition is very, very bad. The Montague Expressway widening project was just on hold. They just stopped because the general contractor walked away from the project. And those are the immediate issues that my office have to deal with the constituent on a daily basis. Now we're saying that, okay, North San Jose people, we're gonna reduce your traffic mitigation fee to help out with the city economic development. I'm okay to take some sacrifice, and being a resident there myself. But I think we should spread the love to all other districts. There are different empty industrial land which been sitting there for 40, 50 years, and nobody, we should provide incentive for them too. I mean, just to be fair to the landowner outside of North San Jose.
Well, let me answer some of your questions. First, the only place we're charging this traffic impact fee is in North San Jose.
Evergreen does too, right? Evergreen has a traffic impact
not this particular fee. So the only place we can reduce it is in North San Jose. I agree with you that we should look at some of those other areas and see what incentives we might get to have somebody do something in Evergreen. It was 1981, I think, when we did the Berryessa Evergreen land swap in hopes of getting jobs into Evergreen. We got some, but most of the land is still not developed, although we got all of the housing in Berryessa. So just as we did 30 years ago, end up incentivizing housing to the expense of jobs, in North San Jose, we've gotten housing and some jobs, not very many compared to what we wanted. And so, yes, we have housing in North San Jose, but we still have less jobs in North San Jose than we had in 2001. So the traffic infrastructure that was present in 2001 is still there, and we've added to it. So there's a lot of transportation capacity. One of the benefits of the Perry Arriaga site, although this incentive applies elsewhere in North San Jose, is those jobs will be to the south of most of the people that have moved into North San Jose. And I'm sure they realize that most of the people going through their neighborhood are going to jobs in other cities. And so at least we'll have the jobs in San Jose and generating revenues. I think that's important. But we do have transportation infrastructure. We built it. We paid for it. I think we have $11 million into that Montague project you're talking about that hasn't been completed, $11 million of city funding that we put in. So that work needs to be done. I think it's been paid for, and I'm not sure what the problem is with the contractor, but I don't think we're managing that job, so I guess we don't really know what all the issues are. But getting the jobs further south is important, and getting the jobs in San Jose is important. And if we could come up with an incentive for Evergreen and Coyote, there's 2 million square feet in Coyote that's been permitted and litigated. And you're right, it's been 30-some years in Evergreen, so maybe we should look at that. But right now we have the opportunity is in North San Jose. And that's why I'm bringing this now, because the opportunity is here. And if we can reduce the fee, it will incentivize the jobs, which is the whole purpose of the North San Jose plan, was to create the capacity to get more jobs.
All right. Kim, do you have something to say? Like I feel like I interrupt you.
No, I just wanted to, I guess, reinforce on behalf of the city staff how excited we are about the opportunity to potentially partner with some major landowners to make some projects happen.
Me too.
And I think that this incentive, if we can get to the point that we're actually focused on the nature of the particular project, has the potential to be sort of smart and strategic. And we can look at the revenues that will be coming into the city, as well as to pay down the redevelopment agency waterfall, and then compare that to the cost of replenishing the traffic impact fee fund. And some preliminary calculations are, you can actually see a scenario where it's pretty even, pretty balanced. And there's a particular opportunity on a large construction project like this to go after the 1% sales tax, the use tax, and make sure that gets allocated to the city of San Jose. So on a 2 million square foot construction project, you know, a large portion of the cost of the value of that project is building and construction materials, and then there's all the equipment that goes into the building. And so because we have a very aggressive program, the business cooperation program, there's an opportunity here to get that significant sales tax allocated to the city and to general fund. And that's a recommendation that we really go after that. It will be benefit both the company as well as the city.
So this specifically goes through the city. Can we earmark to go specifically to the North San Jose?
So that's one of the suggestions in the recommendation, is that the city manager come back in the budget process next year when we understand the economics of the specific project and understand the predictable revenues that are coming in, and make a recommendation about a portion of that revenue that can be used to replenish essentially the traffic impact fee fund to backfill some of the value of the incentive that we can then use to make the improvements. In addition to continuing our strategy of very aggressively going after state and federal funds to finance some of those improvements in North San Jose, which, as you know, are the regionally significant improvements.
Yes, I've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers to see if they will do something with the Guadalupe, lower level Guadalupe, or to widening the bridge on Mayberry Road. But I talked to both the San Francisco office, which was to have the project of the lower Guadalupe project, and the Oakland office, which has the narrow bridge and the Mayberry project. They said their budget for the next 2 years is zero. So, you know, the federal government is facing the possibility of shutting down. I will be worried about whether we have the traffic controller to keep our airport open or not, to be able to get more money from the federal government. So, you know, unless I have a very clear, I appreciate that we will be talking and, you know, in the budget process, but it seems like we're so confident that this project will generate the tax revenue for the city. Well, why don't we have to make the commitment until the budget cycle? I would like to see we make the commitment to say a portion of those sales tax will be used to backfill the traffic mitigation measure when it comes necessary. Sounds like you're not even certain that we will be able to generate the revenue that we predicted.
I think we're confident that a project of this size will generate very significant revenue through the business and structures tax, the use tax program, the property tax, and utility users tax, until we get to the point that we can have a project where we understand the exact parameters of that project, the cost, the value of it involved, which is where we're hoping to get to this afternoon. We're not at a point to understand exactly the amount of revenue, but we will be able to get there before we come back to council in the budget process if we can get the project moving, which is our intent.
Right. Council member, I want to note though that it is subject to annual appropriation, except to the extent that it may have been contractually committed. So these are general funds, and they are monies that, as a matter of policy, this council may say we want to use this to backfill, but future councils would have to make the same decision down the road, except to the extent that any monies would be contractually committed.
Okay, so there's really no guarantee that the money will actually flow back to the traffic mitigation in North San Jose. It's really up to the council.
The council sets the policy, and then through the budget process funds it accordingly.
Can we set a policy to allocate a portion of the sales tax generated in the North San Jose states in North San Jose?
I think you can set the budgetary policy, but again, it's subject to annual review.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Councilmember KHAMIS.
Yeah, I want to thank Kim Walsh's office and the mayor for working so hard to attract jobs to the city of San Jose. I am delighted to know that a 2 million square foot project is even being considered, and I'm excited about the prospect of having the amounts of jobs that come with that amount of square footage. And I do want to, state that our fees, or some of the reputation that we do have is the fees in San Jose are a big problem, and not a lot of people who want to do business in San Jose even understand our fee structure, and they don't understand it because we do a lot of exceptions, and we raise fees artificially or trying to get the maximize our tax dollars. And I think it would be absolutely incredible if we did a right sizing of our fees, looking at industry and seeing how much they're willing to pay instead of how much we need to bring in. I think as I stated on my small project memo, we need to right size fees. The fees actually discourage people from coming here. They discourage people from doing projects here legally or otherwise. And I think we do need to have a real study on this, and the sooner the better, because we are losing jobs, and quite frankly, I think we're not bringing in the money we need to in other areas. Again, I think that even small projects could bring in significant monies because people will have jobs, again, to do home remodels and things like that. So I'm looking forward to if we can at all escalate the study and think about a more even playing field for everyone, and just make it easier for business. I know we do things at the speed of business, but we don't make it understandable for business. And sometimes, if I have to, and I work in the city, if I have to research a lot to understand, I can't imagine the people who are bringing in projects would be encouraged to do business here by the complexity of $13 traffic mitigation here, $0 traffic mitigation there. They practically need a department just to help them understand what's best and where to locate. So that being said, I'm all in favor of doing a study. I'd love to see a more leveling of the playing field and making it easier for businesses to just say, oh yeah, okay, it's easy to do business in San Jose, not just quick. But anyway, I appreciate your work. I'm in wholehearted support of reducing the fees for this project and projects that are 2 million square feet or more. And I want to thank you again for making the effort to going out to attracting companies, but I think we need to do more. And I want to encourage your department to look at the overall picture for other companies, not just the big guys, and just look at how there's a lot more little guys than there are big fish, and I'd like to get a lot of the little ones to feel welcomed in opening businesses in the city of San Jose. Again, I thank you for your work, and I'll be in support.
Councilmember KALRA.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do want to thank Councilmember Chu. He's doing what I think any one of us would do, is be concerned about the impacts of decisions we make on his constituents, whether they be residents or businesses or employees of businesses. And so I think he raises some very good and valid points that, as I said, I think any of us would raise if it were occurring in our district. I signed on to the memo with the mayor and have previously signed on to similar efforts in order to create incentives for companies to come to San Jose. And as everyone that pays attention knows, I don't do this all the time, and I have not signed on to similar efforts every time for residential development, because residential development, the incentives, residential development, I don't believe have the same value long-term for our city as economic development in terms of bringing employers. Residential developers make a boatload of money and they leave our city. Employers come in and make a long-term commitment to our city that in turn brings in a lot of revenue for our general fund as well as other special funds. That being said, there are costs associated with businesses coming into our city. As the mayor pointed out appropriately so, the traffic impact fee is just in North San Jose, but that's the case for a reason, because we know how heavily impacted North San Jose has become, both in terms of not just past developments, but the way that we've aggressively targeted North San Jose in terms of bringing homes closer to jobs and trying to encourage more companies to build in the current existing infill opportunities that exist. And that's something that's unique about North San Jose. I would love to be able to say that we would bring a 10-tower development right in the Edenville Technology Park. That's just not going to realistically happen because of its location, as well as the infrastructure that currently exists in North San Jose that doesn't exist in South San Jose. Now, there are certain types of incentives that are appropriate across the board. That includes the tenant improvement fee, which we reduced from 4 to 1% citywide to encourage developments everywhere in the city. However, we cannot be blanket. We can't just have blanket incentives, because different parts of the city require different types of incentives in order to be effective. Now, I don't know if $13.54 is the right number or not. All I can say and all I can see is that we haven't seen companies move in. We've seen commercial, which is great, and I think that commercial has the capacity to pay that additional fee, and they don't require as much. Even the larger commercial facilities don't require as much square footage as the companies that want to locate an entire headquarters here that don't get that same type of tax revenue per square footage, that they can instantly defer some of those extra costs that they get. So I think that with a reduced fee, if we know that it's going to encourage some of these large companies to come here, we get a whole lot of bang for our buck for having a large employer move here, including allowing for smaller companies not just to move in and take advantage of some of the same incentives, but the reality is that it will create employment opportunities, as we know driving industry jobs do. I do agree that as we come forward to this budget cycle, as it's been articulated by colleagues today, that there is a concern that we want to make sure that there is enough funds to make the traffic improvements we know are going to be necessary in North San Jose, at the very least in the long term, if not some of the immediate demands currently. And so as part of the budget cycle, I think that we should continue to see what we can do to find other avenues to replenish some of the traffic fees that are otherwise being diverted in order to incentivize some of these companies. However, companies, unfortunately, don't abide by our budget cycle. And so by waiting for our budget cycle to play out, we may lose opportunities for companies to move in. Also, to Councilmember Kamis's point, I don't believe we should, the question is how much companies are willing to pay as opposed to what we need to bring in, because that obviously companies, if they had a choice, wouldn't pay anything. The real question is how much they're willing to pay as opposed and balancing to what we need to bring in, because we need to bring something in whenever we bring in thousands of employers, whenever we bring in thousands of residents. We always have to see what kind of impact that has on our infrastructure, and we have to do what we can to bring as much resources as possible. I do believe that that this particular proposal, particularly with some of the amendments offered by Councilmember Rocha that have been accepted into the motion by Councilmember LICCARDO, are appropriate questions that we need to continue to ask, because this is an imperfect science. And we know that even doing what we're doing today, we know we're doing something that is correct, that I feel is right in terms of attracting especially larger employers to North San Jose, but there's no doubt that it's not perfect. And so in order to not just satisfy concerns, but actually deal with concerns that Councilmember Chu's constituents are appropriately raising, we need to see what we can do going forward to make sure that the fees and the tax revenue that we garner are enough to ensure not just extra revenue for the city coffers, but that we have enough to offset any impacts to traffic. And so I look forward to having a further, broader analysis, as referred to by Councilor LICCARDO, with VTA and other entities to see what we can do in terms of funding sources. But in the short term, I believe that this is an important incentive for us to offer in order to ensure not just the short-term developments that have been occurring in terms of bringing a major tenant to North San Jose, a major company in North San Jose, but I believe that this is a very strong sign, especially as we're coming out of this recession. We are competing with other regional players to make sure we get the companies here, and that will create potentially decades of revenue for years to come for not just that company, but for local businesses that survive off the employee base from 9 to 5 in the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Herrera.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Well, I was really happy to hear Evergreen mentioned and potential jobs there. I always like to hear that. We have industrial land there, 320 acres, and we definitely don't want to see that converted, and we want to see jobs there. Today, we're not talking about that, though. We're talking about North San Jose. But I think the point was made, a couple of people made the point that this type of incentive is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all for the whole city. But I think we do need to be looking at incentives for those other areas too. I know I will be certainly working on looking at incentives for Evergreen, and we have Edenville also. So I think we should be looking at jobs throughout the city, because in the case of Evergreen, we have built the homes and we have the retail there, and we have job lands ready for jobs. So we would have a complete package with folks being able to go to a job near where they live, and that's ultimately the goal, I think, is to create a city that's built around people. That's what our general plan contemplates. That's the direction we should be going in. However, I'm digressing a bit on Evergreen. Here, Evergreen, I've got to make a statement about that, but let's get back to North San Jose. This is really exciting. We need jobs in San Jose. This is a deal coming to us, and I really thank the mayor for working on this and continuing to work with the developer to find a number at which we can, get them excited enough to really bring something exciting to San Jose. 2 million square feet. When's the last time we had a deal like this in front of us, Kim Walsh? In your lifetime? In your time here at San Jose?
Not in my tenure. This is terrific.
So I see on one of the memos it says about 8,000 jobs. It could be 10,000 jobs. It could be even greater than that. We don't know who the tenant is. I'm sure we're going to find out, because I don't think Periaga is going to be building a building without a significant tenant. So I think it all goes together, and I think once we put this forward, I think we'll find out who that is, and I think we're all going to be very excited. I have my guesses. I'm sure everybody has theirs. So I think we need to move forward on this. I'm very appreciative of my colleagues' input and the final motion that is going to come before us now with all of those comments. And I was happy to sign on to the mayor's original memo because I think this is really important. I support job creation. If we don't move the needle forward on job creation, we're going to continue to struggle with not enough money to provide services. That's really the bottom line, the fundamental underlying cause of a lot of the problems we face in San Jose, because for years and years, we've been the bedroom community and we have not had enough jobs. And when we have an opportunity like this to bring in thousands of jobs, we need to strike where the iron is hot. We need to move forward on this. And so I will be supporting it. I had just a question on the backfill, because I am mindful of what my colleague in District 4 is talking about in terms of transportation difficulties. Evergreen is very congested, and we struggle with a lot of congestion there. And for many years, the answer that was on the table, or the vision that was on the table, was to try to get the traffic improvements paid for by money that would come in from developers. In the end, that didn't work, and it was recognized that these were regional transportation improvements that needed regional solutions. And so we ended up being able to get those projects across the line. The Tully Road expansion, Capital Expressway Yerba Buena, which is almost completed, because we worked together and we did take a regional approach with the federal government, with VTA, state government, and the city participating. We've been able to get those important projects across the line. We need to do the same thing in North San Jose. I'm very appreciative of the additional addition on VTA and regional involvement. I do think that we should consider looking at, when we have monies coming in from this project, allocating the fair portion back to that district for those improvements. But I think we should focus on regional improvements, should have regional money and regional involvement. I don't think that the local areas should bear the full cost for regional improvements. I think that's a really important lesson that I saw unfold in my district, and I think it's an important one to carry forward. So I just had a question on just understanding some of these fees. So in the memo, it's $14 million building structure tax. We're expecting that. That's about the amount, and that's going citywide. That's not going to go back to District 4. That'll be a citywide type of revenue coming in. Is that right?
Could add on the different construction taxes, some of them allocate by district and some go into citywide allocations.
The construction and conveyance tax is the one that goes by district. That covers park improvements largely. The building construction tax is different and
mostly DOT
yeah.
facilities. And just to kind of emphasize that, Hans Larsson's team is really, really creative about chasing after those dollars, as you mentioned, to go after the state and federal dollars, but it takes local dollars to start that, to get the design work done, to get the environmental review done, to put a package together that we can compete. And so that's the part where they've been really aggressive about using the taxes off development to go through and finance those and move those projects forward. And that's what we would be doing more in North San Jose.
Yeah, and I think that starter money's perfectly legitimate to get the seed grain, to get going, to get the whole project, but not the entire project with the developer's money. The 1% use tax that we talked about, what kind of money do you see being generated by this, if you can hazard a guess? I was hearing 10 million. Is that?
Sorry, just so an example, I mean, we think this is quite conservative. If you had a 2 million square foot project valued at, say, $1 billion, 1% of that is 10 million.
Okay, so on the conservative side, 10 million. So that still leaves us another 21 million that we would need in the traffic impact fund. If all the 10 million were allocated to that, I'm not certain that is what would happen, but. And does in the development agreement, does this would include, there would have to be an agreement by the user to agree to that, the use of that tax? Is there some provision in the development agreement then that would require the user to participate?
Yes, so that typically is in there. At the end of the day, it's the state franchise tax board that makes, the Board of Equalization that makes the determination. But yes, we work closely with the developer on that.
Yeah, and I'm just sorry, I just misspoke. I want to clarify. The amount of the 1% would be about $4 million, because you have to assume a certain part of the construction valuation is for materials versus labor. So conservatively estimating the amount that is for materials, the 1% would be conservatively $4 million.
Okay, great. So yeah, admittedly, there's a portion of money I think we need to come up with, and I will be very interested in future discussions about that when we move this along. But lastly, I think, we can argue about the money coming in, but if we didn't have the project here, how much money would we be getting in taxes? I think the answer would be zero. So I think it's great that we're going to get to have a discussion about money coming in and how we're going to use it. That's always a much better discussion than having zero. Thank you.
Councilmember Rocha.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me thank Councilmember Liccardo for incorporating some of the work I did on my memorandum into his motion. Appreciate that very much. And also thank the mayor and his staff, Rivadicum, for their work on this, trying to get to a better place in terms of a policy outcome. Let me ask staff, as far as the direction contained in my recent memo that was distributed today, and again, I apologize for the lateness of that, trying to work through all the other memos. Are you comfortable that this is something that you can provide by the end of the fiscal year or the calendar year?
I think the ordinance, bringing the ordinance back to set the fee and making the adjustments in the policy to recognize that, I think that is very doable by the end of the year. The guideline discussion is one that I don't have in my work plan, so it's just what else do I shove out of the way to go do it. So this is an important area for the city. There's a lot of work that's going on, such as with Spur, that's dealing with some of the same issues of how we should talk about design guidelines and flexibility. So I think we can come back with a big chunk of this. Whether we can get it totally buttoned up by the end of the year, I need to kind of go back and look through the guidelines and think about that a little bit more.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. As you mentioned, though, it's an important issue. I think my interest would trying to wrap up some of this while you're still here at City of San Jose. We've lost a number of folks who were involved in the original North San Jose area development policy, and I think as we continue to lose brain power that have some history on this issue, it might compromise as we go forward in terms of having the resources available. I also have a preference to not work through some of these issues on a project-by-project basis, but more of a kind of a comprehensive review of how the North San Jose area development policy has served us, including the design guidelines. And I'd like to have that conversation, but also recognize that a comprehensive look at that policy is too big of an apple to bite. So I think that's why I was suggesting there might be certain components that we might want to deal with on the short term. And I think that would be what I would encourage you to do, is look at some of those that either have or have not been working, and should we make some modifications as opposed to doing this on a case-by-case basis. So thank you.
And staff would certainly, we really do appreciate kind of that pragmatic approach of how to look at this. And I think just to set the council's mind at ease, if you are concerned, the project that's we are looking at, this 2 million square foot project, I think really does do the things that we set out to do with the North San Jose design guidelines, about the form of the buildings, how they've dealt with taking a very urban approach to the buildings, that I think they've done a really good job on a really tough site. So it's one that it certainly doesn't have some of the challenges of grid streets like we do in other places, but I think they really took a thoughtful approach of how to develop this property.
Councilmember Liccardo.
Thank you, Mayor, and I look forward to hearing more about the design as well as TDM measures that the tenant might be undertaking. I know if it's a Silicon Valley company, I know we've seen a lot of innovation in those areas, and hopeful that what they're going to offer is going to exceed whatever TDM we expect. By TDM, I mean traffic demand management, to encourage their employees to be using transit and other alternative modes so that we don't have traffic mess that we know results with a lot of intense development and poor planning. But I just want to correct something for the millions of viewers out there. I know it was suggested this was in Councilmember Chu's district. Councilmember Chu and I are happy to share North San Jose. This particular project is in District 3, and I guarantee you there are lots of projects we'd love to see developed in District 3 that affect District 3 directly. The Mayberry and Oakland interchanges on 101, for example, which are very important, particularly as BART comes in 2017. It's just, the reality is, you know, I think my residents understand that 100% of nothing is nothing, and we've been getting 100% of nothing for roughly 8 years. So it's time for us to try a different approach. And as we're looking at alternatives here in North San Jose and the fee structure, I appreciate Councilmember Rocha's inclusion of community facilities districts. I think that is an approach that applies a much smaller fee on an annual basis, against which we could bond, and we could do so on a time schedule of our making. That is, we don't have to wait for the money to come in. We can bond against that revenue stream as we need projects to get built. And I think that would give us much more flexibility and give users much more assurance that they're only paying for what they're getting rather than paying an enormous fee for some future infrastructure improvement that they may never see in the 20-year tenure. So I look forward to seeing how we can modify this fee rate structure to something that is more flexible and hopefully more palatable for jobs creation. Thank you.
Councilmember Chu.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to restate it. I love job creation. And I would like to stand up. I love job creation. And I'm looking forward to sign up to any memos, you know, that from Evergreen or whatever the area in the city, in their district, any incentive program that does not require, it doesn't touch the general fund, and also use strictly, exclusively on their district fund. So with that, I will not be supporting the motion, but I'm looking forward to sign up to future job creation type of memo that doesn't, again, touch the general fund and the incentive strictly from their district fund.
Councilor Oliverio.
Thank you, Mayor Reed. I just want to thank you for keeping the dialogue open with those folks that are making these things happen, and obviously challenging them to, you know, think of us. And I think you're, you know, presenting, you know, figuring out what the obstacle might be and presenting an alternative when the right opportunity is upon us is a good idea. And apparently, if we're so fortunate, we'll see what happens in the next few months. Thank you.
I think that concludes the council discussion. We have a motion on the floor. based around Councilmember Rocha's memo, motion made by Councilmember LICCARDO with a couple of modifications. On that motion, all in favor? Opposed? Count one opposed. Councilmember Chu. We have two absent. They're out of town, so the motion carries. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing some projects. And while Councilmember LICCARDO is correct, the Perry Arriaga is in District 3, the Super Micro is in District 4. So we're going to have a head-to-head district competition so who can get there first. Move on now to item 5.1, amendment to the fiscal year 13-14 annual action plan. Are there any requests from the public to speak? We have a supplemental memorandum that summarizes the public comments, which has been open for a while. We have no additional comments that have come in. So we have a motion to approve. We've had the public hearing, and there's several actions recommended by the staff with a resolution. On that motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item 5.2 is an amendment to the Citizen Participation Plan. This is a public hearing on this plan. I have no request from the public to speak on this. We have a motion to approve the staff recommendation for the changes and a resolution. On that motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. That is approved. Item 7.2 is an agreement with MWH Americas, Inc. for program management consultant services to the San Jose Santa Clara Regional Wastewater Facility Capital Improvement Program. We heard this last week, and at the end of the discussion, we decided to defer it for a week so staff could follow up on some questions raised by Councilmember KALRA during the discussion. I know there's been a supplemental memo that's come out explaining staff's work, so I don't know what else there might be. We'll give a chance to add to the comments before we get into the discussion.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We do have a few brief comments to make. I'm David Sykes, the Director of Public Works. I'm joined by Carrie Romanow, the Director of Environmental Services, and Julia Nguyen, Division Manager from ESD. As the Mayor mentioned, and as a recap, this item is to approve an agreement with MWH for program management services at the Regional Wastewater Facility. And at our last council meeting, some questions were raised related to the discovery of internet content about MWH. And we've summarized our findings in a supplemental memo dated September 20th. Attached to that memo is also a letter from MWH responding to the specific issues. And I will note that MWH and the leadership of MWH is in the audience and will be addressing the council at the appropriate time. So at this point, I just want to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, we did take the concerns raised very seriously. And for that, we did our own research, our own web research, and looking at kind of some of the issues that were out there. We met with the president of MWH and asked some very tough questions. And we also did our own independent follow-up with the other jurisdictions involved. I'm not going to go over all the details that are in the supplemental memo, but I will say that our follow-up did address our concerns, and we continue to recommend that MWH be the program manager for the regional wastewater facility. Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about our processes. We did review our processes, and we confirmed that we did follow our standard procedures. However, we recognize that our current process really doesn't take into account how to utilize the internet as a tool in that evaluation process. And I will say there's been some reluctance on our part to utilize the internet as a tool because of the potential inaccuracy and unreliability of the information that we found. But it's hard to deny also that the internet can be a valuable tool. So what we will be doing looking forward on these procurements is how do we utilize the internet, how do we utilize social media in that evaluation process that's both efficient and fair to all the proposers. So that summarizes kind of the recap, and I'm going to pass it on to Carrie for some next steps.
Well, thank you. We decided not to repeat last week's presentation. We expect you might have a few questions on that. But one of the projects I did want to talk about as a first step we would be leveraging MWH to move forward with the Plant Master Plan project validation. As you may recall, the Plant Master Plan identified 114 projects that needed to be completed. Many of those projects will be completed in the first 10 years, and our hope is that we would begin that process pretty quickly, and it'll take about 120 days for the consulting firm as well as ESD staff and public works staff to go through those projects, look at sequencing, look at complementary opportunities to reduce costs and improve efficiency, and we're looking forward to answering your questions and actually getting the Plant Master Plan projects in motion.
Thank you. I'd like to give Daniel McConville a chance to speak first, representing MWH Americas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. I will be very brief. My name is Dan McConville. I am the president of MWH Americas, and I am very proud to have been associated with MWH for nearly 20 years. MWH is an employee-owned company with roots that go back more than 150 years. We are a global company with more than 8,000 employees in 35 countries spread across 6 continents. As a company, we at MWH have a focus on wet infrastructure, but our purpose is building a better world. We hope to bring the best of our global water expertise to benefit this community, and we would be honored to work with the staff to help San Jose with this important capital improvement program.
Thank you. That concludes the public testimony on this. I had a couple of things to add from the TPAC Treatment Plant Advisory Committee discussion, which Councilmember Chu and I and Vice Mayor Nguyen sit alongside our partners from the tributary agencies as well as our partners in the ownership of the property. And as Carrie mentioned, one of the first things that we need to have done with this program manager is the validation process, which I guess is a fancy way of saying we got to figure out what these things are going to cost for real. And being able to do that was extremely important to our tributaries because that determines what the rates are likely to be for them, and they're very concerned about getting that done early enough. And so they're very interested in making sure we move ahead with that validation process so we can get the work done to put real good numbers on the projects that will allow us to size next year's work and next year's money requirements, because some of them may be raising rates as we go to do that. So they're very anxious and very time sensitive to get this moving. And so I would urge the council to tie this off today. We had a lengthy discussion last week. You've got some additional information, so hopefully we can get it done today so that we can move ahead with the projects in a timely manner. Councilmember KALRA.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank staff and start off by apologizing from last week in that it was not intentional for me to spring something on staff as a way of embarrassment or in any way trying to indicate that that I found something and it wasn't there was no gamesmanship intended. And so I appreciate the work staff does on these procurements. I know there are a lot of requirements and challenges that exist as part of the procedure that in some ways help us find information about potential companies we contract with, and in some ways prohibit or inhibit that ability. I know how short-staffed you all are, and so frankly, when I posed the question on some of the things that I found, with just some rudimentary kind of Google searching, I presumed that it was known and that it just wasn't, kind of like what we find now today, that it was just known and that it was looked into. I think it was a little surprised that there were some of the things that came out, and I want to thank you for so quickly, frankly, I think under ordinary circumstances, the questions that were posed last week would take weeks to follow up on. I think you did a commendable job in doing the follow-up in a matter of just days or really just hours, frankly, if you look how quickly you responded to it. And I want to similarly thank Mr. McConville and his representatives for so quickly responding. I didn't mean to give anyone any heartache in such a short period of time. It wasn't my intention, but I think that with some of the experience you've had, and obviously coming off the heels of Applegate Johnson, I just want to do my due diligence, and that likely should have, and I'll take some responsibility, should have included doing some of my due diligence earlier and getting those questions posed earlier. I did not do that. That being said, I do think that some of the questions posed bring up issues as indicated here, as much to the process as to anything else. And first of all, I am satisfied with the report from staff as well as the responses from Mr. McConville regarding the questions raised. Any company that has this level, this many years of experience and this breadth of experience, you're going to have issues that come up. So I recognize that even when we audit our own internal systems, we sometimes come up with things that can be improved upon or that indicate some issues that we then go ahead and improve upon, and especially when you're dealing with projects of this nature and we're dealing with municipalities and other organizations, issues will arise, and I recognize that, and I want to thank MWH not only for responding to the issues that were raised, but going above that and even bringing up issues that weren't raised, just to be very clear that everything's out in the open. To be fair, there wasn't, as has been the case in the past, the proposer questionnaire that asks the proposers to bring up issues that were not solicited. And so I do think that when it comes to following up with concerns, it is important for us to know what concerns may exist. By eliminating that aspect of the procedure, I think it limits our ability to have those that are putting in their proposals to be upfront about issues that could raise concerns. In looking at the staff analysis of the process, staff indicates that we eliminated the proposer questionnaire because of I guess it was being used in some ways, for lack of a better word, as a weapon or as a tool by those that didn't get the bids to use the questionnaire and say, well, see here, there are issues, so why are you accepting the proposal? I would like to see us, and I appreciate staff mentioning that guidelines and will be included as to how we go about doing proper vetting in the future. There's got to be some kind of balance between what existed previously with the proposer questionnaire and doing nothing. And so that I'm hoping, Dave, Carrie, and Ed, if you have any response to that, I'm hoping that's the direction we're looking at, is some way of allowing those that are applying in good faith to put forward any issues and allay those concerns, but not to create issues where there really shouldn't be any. I'm not trying to go on a witch hunt on every single particular issue that can be raised just to give fuel and ammunition to anyone that might come second or third in the bid ranking. And so what are some thoughts on how we may be able to do that going forward, as you've mentioned in the staff report?
Yeah, Councilmember, we completely agree. I think the past questionnaire, although it was not effective and it did bring some issues upon us in terms of a tool for protest, not having a questionnaire is just as ineffective. So we need to come up with a questionnaire that kind of hits the mark and can't be used by other proposals for protests, and I'm sure we can strike that balance.
Yeah, and I think that I really appreciate that. I think that'll be very helpful. I mean, frankly, now looking at some of the issues that were raised last week and seeing the responses, I feel more confident now than I did a week ago with MWH and with the recommendation from staff. And that's a good thing. And so there can be an outcome where we do have give the opportunity for the applicant to put everything out on the table and come out with a result that's even more confident in that applicant. And so I don't know, and the flip side of that, or the additional aspect of this, is just the research done by our staff. And I'm one that definitely trusts our staff in terms of the recommendations. And so if there is, as part of the guidelines, some kind of procedure and process where staff does their own independent research, I'm fine with that. And I'm also fine with staff coming to their own conclusions based upon their research, because you're the subject matter experts. I'm not, we're not. You're the ones that understand how these procurements are done, as well as what specifications you're looking for. So I certainly look forward to some kind of guideline in place that allows staff to have the flexibility and freedom to do their own research, their independent research, separate from what may be revealed from the applicant, and then come into your own conclusion based on that research without having either be council members or maybe those that are protesting bids second guessing everything staff does. That's certainly not my intention. But I hope that although there might have been some tension raised by the questions raised last week, that we come out of this with a better process, and we come out of it, because I think it's better for me to raise these questions a week ago and have them addressed right now than for it to come out in some expose 6 months from now because someone decided to do some digging because of prodding from someone that was bidding that I didn't get the bid. And so I want this to be a process where we go forward where, to the best extent possible, we have everything we need to know about applicants that is relevant, and the key word there is relevant. Everything that we need to know that's relevant, knowing that we're never ever going to be able to completely shut out the opportunity for others to have some criticism about our process. And I've been one that's been very open about issues where I've had with companies that have bid. Sometimes I've supported them, sometimes I haven't, based upon information we've gotten through the procurement process and information that's been revealed through that process. So it's a very valuable process for us to make conclusions upon who we should be giving these bids to, as we're the ones that have the oversight over the taxpayer dollars that are going into these very expensive contracts at times. And so we want to make sure that the bid process really does have us revealing the best possible company to follow through. So I don't know if is looking at the process, there's a timeline. I know you have plenty on your plate, so I'm not trying to add more work, but I do think this is important enough for us to get some follow-up with at some point. So David, based on in talking with Deb and with Ed and with Carrie and other department heads, is there some suggestion you can give to us as to when you may be able to come up with some at least initial guidelines as we go forward with these procurements?
Sure. First, let me start off by saying that the questions that you raised at the council meeting last week were completely fair. I mean, it's our intention to bring forward a proposal that the entire council feels comfortable in supporting. And so it gave us an opportunity to kind of relook at kind of how we're doing our RFP process. And as I said, we followed our current procedures, but I don't think our procedures have necessarily evolved to kind of understand all the information that's available out there to us. Now, obviously, on every single RFP, we can't go out and do this thorough internet search and track down every lead that we find. But certainly on a large procurement as this is, it's important that we do as much due diligence as completely possible. So we are going to be factoring that into our process. I would say that within the next month or so, we will be able to kind of develop some specific process improvements to our process and to be able to use those in future procurements.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And ultimately, it's better, like I said, coming from me than someone protesting a bid, just springing this on you, and not having that system set up where we're at least catching as much as we can of what potential issues there might be with an applicant and allaying any concerns as it comes to us for that initial vote. And so I am satisfied both with the responses to the concerns raised last week, as well as the thoughts given from staff as to how we go forward and putting together some guidelines, as tricky as that balance may be, in doing appropriate both independent research as well as finding a way to have applicants in good faith put forward issues that we feel are relevant, rather than just eliminating altogether the process that was created through the proposal questionnaire. I'm not comfortable with that being gone altogether. I think let's bring back at least the relevant aspects of that, understanding that we don't want to raise issues where there aren't any. And so with that, I'm comfortable putting forward a motion to support staff recommendation.
Okay, procedurally, I think the motion needs to be first to take the tabled motion off of the table.
Sure.
Which was last week's motion.
Yeah, so I'll ask that we now untable the tabled motion.
Okay, that motion is not debatable, so all in favor of untabling the tabled motion?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed.
And now I'll go ahead and put the recommendation to support staff recommendation.
Okay, so the motion that we took off the table is to support the staff recommendation. So that is the motion in front of us, which is debatable, but hopefully not too much. So we've already debated it quite a bit. I would just like to add that as staff is looking at the work of figuring out when to do research and when not to do research, that you might focus on those instances where we have only one bidder or one proposer, because it turns out if you have multiple bidders and proposers, they're happy to throw dirt at each other, and we usually get alerted if there's some kind of a problem. So just something to consider in that process and scoping your work. So we have a motion to approve the recommendation on that motion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. We'll turn to item 8.1, a request for bids on the purchase of additional fire engines. There are no requests in public to speak, although we certainly have some people here with firefighting expertise in case we need to know details. We have a motion to approve the recommendation on that motion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Councilmember Chu has a question.
Just have one quick question for the fire department. Do we know where we are on upgrading the GPS system? Anybody can answer that question for me? Maybe offline? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to get back to you on that. Councilmember Liccardo? Okay, next item. All right, we have a motion that was approved, so we are going to now move to 9.1, the long-range property management plan. We'll have a staff presentation on this. Councilmember Liccardo, do you have something first, or do you want to wait? Okay. Most of these properties we've talked about many times before. So this is not a surprise to, I think, anybody sitting up here.
Sorry, Mayor. Richard Key, Managing Director of Successor Agency to Redevelopment. I have just a short 4-slide presentation on 9.1, the Long Range Property Management Plan. Let me bring it up. Until it comes up. All right. I'll start. There we go. On August 30th, 2013, a significant event took place in the life and death of redevelopment. We got our finding of completion, which is really significant for several reasons. One, it meant that all our state audits were approved. There were 3 of them, and then there was the controller's report on asset transfers. So all that is behind us. Secondly, it allows us to expend bond proceeds, which we will use for our North San Pedro housing, the affordable housing component. And last, it allows us to submit the long-range property management plan. We are required to submit that plan within 6 months, so that would bring us into February. Our intent is to submit it to the successor board, city council, and the oversight board in October. The long-range property management plan specifies that the success agency will dispose of properties in one of 4 ways. There's the governmental purpose properties, which is an obvious category. It's any property that can be used in the public right-of-way that's been a public building in the past that is part of a park, a trail. And the next category is retention of property for future development. We currently have none in that category. The third category is the sale of property, which is the majority of our properties for 2 obvious reasons. One are either to pay down J.P. Morgan variable rate debt or to bring in revenue to pay off funds that the agency is obligated to pay, and obviously minimize any further impact on the general fund or parking fund that the city has picked up. The last category is the retention of property to fulfill an enforceable obligation. And a perfect example of this is the option agreements that we have with the A's. That's an enforceable obligation in their mind, even though all of our sale of property really will be paying off general enforceable obligations, as you'll see on the ROPS when we get to 9.2. The long-range property management plan consists of 23 sites are proposed to be sold, 9 sites are proposed to be retained to fulfill the enforceable obligation, and 4 sites are for governmental purpose. On Thursday, we're going to be bringing to the Oversight Board governmental purpose properties for sale, for transfer, and under state dissolution law, those properties that are approved by the Oversight Board and subsequently approved by the Department of Finance, the State Department of Finance, do not have to go into the long-range property management plan. Yeah, we should have this attachment A. Sorry. It would be, I'm sorry, attachment A and B. Anyway, I direct the board to look at the supplemental that went out yesterday. Is the latest long-range property management plan. It's attachment A, called the synopsis of the long-range property plan, and we'll try to bring that up. But on that, there's 36 properties, and they're in 3 categories. Properties for sale, 23 of them. About 5 that are in the enforceable obligation category. No, there's about 9. And then 4 governmental use properties. There's 4 governmental use properties that we're not asking the Oversight Board to approve now. Those are, for those of you who can bring it up, it's 33 to 36 on your attachment A. There's those 4 for very different reasons. The Guadalupe River, even though it's part of a river park and trail, J.P. Morgan requested, because it's collateral and we're going to take it off as collateral, they've requested that that could be put into the long-range property management plan. The Billy DeFrank Center, the community center clearly is a government use, but it has a ancillary contiguous property that's a parking lot that we believe the Department of Finance would ask us to sell. We're exploring possibilities of keeping that as a government use, but right now we don't have a concise or a practical reason where we're going to work with planning on that, or your direction after this presentation. The number 35 on the sheet is 456 Autumn Court. That is part of the second phase of the Autumn Street extension. And the county has asked us to put that on the long-range property management plan. Currently, they're not disputing that it's will be part of the public right-of-way and a good governmental purpose, but they're questioning the timing on that. Last of which is the Circle of Palms, which is a public plaza, and the county had some question about that as well, only because we're trying to secure all the paperwork necessary to show that the private garage is part of the office complex. We've never received revenue for it. It's always been a separate, I believe, deed, and we're working out the paperwork there. So really, with that, I would just want to turn it over for if you have any questions about the long-range property management plan, specific properties. Oh, now we have, could you go back to attachment A? Thank you. That's what you should have seen on your screen. Those are the complete list of properties for the plan as proposed to take to the Oversight Board on Thursday. We're going to, again, we're just going to give a presentation to the Oversight Board, and then in October, come back for approval of the official plan, which consists of a planning document, narrative, and a 19-column spreadsheet that the State Department of Finance wants.
The council has previously given some direction on what we think is the appropriate use on some of these sites, and I just want to make sure that doesn't get lost, that somewhere it's in the disclosure documents or something so that nobody goes out and tries to buy the Billy DeFrank Center or something, not knowing that, no, it's really a community center for a very long time, or the stage company, and I forget what else we had on the list, but so that nobody is surprised, and not that they would be, but I want to make sure we didn't forget
Yeah,
those designations
That's
based on
correct. And the
previous council
stage
action.
company, based on council direction, we put that near the end of the solicitation process.
Okay. Councilmember Liccardo?
Thanks, Mayor. And ask my indulgence of my colleagues here because since many of these sites are in my district, I'll try to proceed as quickly as possible, but I just wanted some public discussion about a few of the sites. First, Old Fire Station number 1. I see our friend John McMillan is here. I know he has a particular interest in this, and I just want to be really clear about what the pathway is or options are going forward. I recognize there's been I think a proposal around a potential lease of that site, and which seems to be promising. But I also recognize that the site currently is the storage site for downtown ICE. Has there been any awareness if there are other sites that could provide storage for downtown ICE that would enable us to move forward with this option in the short term at least?
Yeah, Council Member, one of the things, we left that site, we proposed that site, as you can see, for a September 2015 solicitation. Right. So there is some time for the Fire Museum to accrue as much funding as possible, and John and I have talked many times as well, and also to secure another location for downtown ICE. So we're looking about a year out, well, 2 years out.
Okay. So my understanding was the strategy that they articulated was if they get the equipment in there, that could give a place and a location to what they're trying to accomplish, obviously, in showing off this 19th century and early 20th century equipment, start to get donors excited, and then be able to raise the money. I assume that September 2015, is that the last date we really have under the law to be able to?
No, there's no date under the law. This was our proposed dates for solicitation and sale to roll out the properties both from a staffing standpoint and a logical standpoint, so we don't flood the market, even though these properties are very different. We know that.
Yeah.
But it also depends. We have no idea when, even after we get approval from the Oversight Board and the Successor Board in October, when the state will come in and approve the Long-Range Property Management Plan. So this is based on what we hope is by a December or January approval from
Right.
DOF. But we do have flexibility within these parameters for solicitation.
So if DOF stalls, and everything gets pushed out.
Correct.
As we've seen before. Okay. Page 29, North San Pedro Housing. What are the remaining obstacles to us being able to break ground on streets and sewers and parks?
That's a good question. And one, the grant is secure. It's for those of you who recall, it's a $24.1 million grant to do infrastructure improvements, including the realignment of Julian. The biggest obstacle is the State Department of Finance.
Again.
We had the Oversight Board approve unanimously the amended and restated disposition and development agreements. The State Department of Finance sent it back saying that, yes, it benefits the taxing entities, but it doesn't reduce their liabilities. Having the Housing Department provide a loan for part of the affordable housing now reduces their liability. We intend to go back to the Oversight Board, I believe October 10th, and then resubmit it as requested by DOF. And we believe they should turn that around pretty quickly, so we're hoping by November all systems should be go, and the developers can feel 100% confident in starting the infrastructure project and drawing down those funds.
Okay. Can anything happen in November, or is it, it'll be out of the construction season and then we have to wait?
I'm sorry?
In terms of, starting the actual construction.
Yeah,
can we
no,
actually
there's
make
still,
anything?
even though the project has full construction documents, we have to go back into, and we have been keeping DOT and DPW apprised of what's going on, but there's still those issues, and the permits haven't been secured yet.
Understood. Okay. Well, we hope that moves along quickly. There's a whole category of sites, and I'm thinking, for instance, of the Camera 12 cinemas, thinking of the Jose Theater, where from an income basis, the properties probably are worth zero, given either large maintenance or utility bills or capital needs. And so these obviously are slated to be sold in February 2015, and my concern is what happens when we go out to a market and the market says, well, we'll give you $5. How bound are we, and can the city just decline and buy the properties, after we've gone out there, and at least ensure that we're going to have viable uses here? Because what I'm concerned about is a developer looking at this and saying, well, the highest best use is a vacant theater. Let's drive everybody out, let it sit around for 6 years, gathering dust. Now you've got a big hole in your downtown, and they're going to wait to redevelop it in some future cycle.
The cameras is a little bit different because that's actually a ground lease. So that would be Forest City is
right.
the tenant. So, and there are issues we have to deal with that. The dissolution legislation does not actually dictate how we do the sales. We've discussed it as a staff that we think the solicitation process is open and to as many people as possible to generate as much interest and to have the prices be as high as possible, which is one of the dictates of the statute requiring us to maximize all revenues and sales of the properties. We have discussed what would happen if there are properties that don't sell. I think it would depend on if the city is interested in acquiring those sites. We could go back to the Oversight Board. All of this is subject to Oversight Board approval. The Oversight Board could then approve if the city was willing. Let's say we get an offer of $100. If the city wants to go in and say, look, we can take this off your hands, otherwise it is a drain, the maintenance, and maybe the city says we give $500 and we'll buy it. We've had that discussion. Again, there's nothing in the legislation that talks about properties that we can't sell. I assume that we could leave it, they could stay there and we could manage them.
Ultimately, the fiduciary obligation is on the Oversight Board members to maximize revenues on behalf of all the taxing entities. But I think, Councilmember, you may remember we did a solicitation over a year ago, and one of them included a parking lot, and we didn't move forward on that because the city felt that it might be interested as a buyer, potential buyer. So those are the types of situations that I think we'd visit on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Good to know there's still an option for us to get involved in keeping those for public use. And then two more properties. I appreciate everyone's patience. 366 South First is the Two Fish site on page 8. And I think about the tenants here, and I'm sure it's true in other sites as well, who are really, anxious about understanding how much longer they have and so forth. Who's communicating with them? And for instance, in this case, have they been communicated with recently?
Kelly Highland, our real estate manager, has talked to them many times because unfortunately they've been in arrears and they've always caught up in their payments, but we've had communications. And we would do that with any property that had a tenant on it.
Okay. So they're up to speed on whatever we're planning at this point. Okay, great. And then finally, the Central Place parking garage on page 2. I recognize, and I'm sure you must have told me previously, that upon sale, the garage buyer is not required to participate in validation programs. For this, the 330 spaces that are involved here, for us to construct 330 spaces, of course, well, we contributed $12.5 million, so it tells you something about the value of the spaces. I think our offer it came from the market, was $450,000 roughly. So we're taking a huge haircut already. And I'm wondering whether there is an opportunity for us legally for us to be able to go back out and rebid this with the requirement that they participate in validation programs for parking. And let me articulate the reason why I'm asking this question. When Block 3 went away, I was told P.F. Chang's and several other restaurants saw their revenues drop by 30 or 40%. And if I recall correctly, it was around the same time that the restaurant that is now Nemea went out of business, the restaurant that was in there previously. It took a really hard hit, that street did, with the loss of that parking. I think about the loss of validation at the Safeway site, and I think we're going to lose Safeway. And I think we're going to lose a lot of other adjacent businesses along the core of our downtown in San Fernando. And given the fact that we're already taking a $12 million haircut on the sale of this thing, to take a few $1,000s more by requiring that they validate to at least keep some parking inventory there, it seems to me is a very small price to pay in the big picture. Is there an ability for us to go back out and say you got to take the parking with a validation program?
The problem is that the oversight board is the one that has the fiduciary responsibility, and right now, upon the sale of that property to a third party, that agreement terminates. So us having the ability to have that agreement go forward, I think, would probably require the approval of the oversight board, probably DOF, and since it limits the price we could get for the property, I'm very doubtful that we could get either approval from either of those entities.
The only light I can maybe add on this is, and there you've been participate, the oversight board members, many of them do recognize the importance of a vibrant downtown. It came up in the context of the San Pedro Square market restructure, and we could appeal to why these are, I mean, the overall game plan, but that's something that we'd have to have this, it's a story, and we'd have to sort of work it through. But I think we can take the comment that you make and try to come back with some kind of game plan.
Okay.
Also, I think the city is interested. I know the Department of Transportation is looking into potentially bidding on the property, and we also are exploring options of how, like you just said, what happens if we don't get bids, or what happens if the bids aren't high enough?
Right.
What can the city do to step in? And we are looking into that.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I know Department of Transportation, I'm sure, is interested in the site. I would be very interested in seeing us do that, and I would ask if staff would at least press the issue. Whoever makes the motion, I just ask that be part of the direction. And look, at some point, I hope we do come back and have a chance to buy this, because we're never going to build 330 spaces anywhere in the downtown for $450,000, and we'll be kicking ourselves once we lose this. Thank you very much, and I just want to really thank Tom and Richard and Kelly and Bob for all their hard work, all the folks who've undoubtedly burned the midnight oil and gone through a lot of therapy bills to deal with DOF. Thank you for everything you've done.
Getting through the process just to get to the point where we could do this long-range property management plan is a long, difficult, tedious, burdensome process. And we did it, and staff did a lot of work and did good quality work. And it's not just us, but working with the issues we have, plus dealing with the county and the other agencies and everybody that's on the oversight board. It was a very complicated thing. So staff, good work on that, and hopefully this will be a lot easier than the half a dozen audits or so that we had to go through just to get here. Councilmember Herrera.
Yeah, I was just at the League of Cities and listening to the litany from cities who are trying to go through this process and are struggling to even get a third of the way through this. So I think we're in really good shape, and didn't hear a lot of people that were feeling as confident as we are about our plan. I just wanted to support Councilmember Liccardo's concern about this parking garage. I'm wondering, is Safeway, obviously this would be very detrimental to Safeway. Can they be part of that conversation? Would that be part of the story? Would they be working with us on this, since it's so integral to their business?
Well, we have been in communication. Kelly, can you tell me if you've talked to them specifically about?
I don't know what the relationship with the parking garage to them is, but I mean, I know it's
on the
important for their
previous
business.
with the previous solicitation, we did reach out to Safeway to make them aware that we were soliciting offers. We also encouraged them to look at if they were interested in purchasing the garage and also Safeway is just a tenant. There's a separate retail owner that we've also reached out to make them aware of the availability of the parking garage for sale. So we will continue to reach out to them and keep them apprised of this process.
I don't know how long their lease is for, what the terms are there, but maybe perhaps there's some way to incent them in terms of having a longer us knowing that they're going to be a tenant there. We certainly, I think, want them to continue there. I know it's up to the business environment as to whether they ultimately do, and I have no idea how well they're doing. I hope they're doing fantastically well. But being a grocery store is always a challenging business, but I would think losing this parking would be a death knell for them. I think we really need to figure out how to hook them into that story.
Absolutely.
One other thing, if I may say, we've been racking our brains too of how best that we can get DOT to get this property. And one way we thought of is there's no requirement on how we solicit the properties, is to really have an open solicitation where kind of like online, so they can see the next highest. And if they, to Council Member Liccardo's point, if it's still, it could be very much cheaper to purchase this property for a public, long-term public garage than they could build anywhere near what they could build today, or even acquire land downtown.
Absolutely. It totally makes sense, and as already been indicated, we're going to be losing substantially on this, and just losing that parking altogether and how it benefits the area. I think having the city own it would be a much better alternative. And then we could then make an arrangement with Safeway too, being city owned. If Department of Transportation owns it, then I definitely want to see some kind of a, obviously a relationship with the business that's there. I had one other question on the stage company. Have we had discussions with them about this process? And
Yes, Mr. Stranges has contacted me and wrote emails and letters several times. So they're well aware, and we're trying, as I said, we put them near the end of the line for the same reason as the fire station, so they hopefully can accumulate as much funds. That is a development site, and we hope they can come through and purchase it.
well, have we looked at the valuation? Do we know what the valuation is? And we're all on the same page with that and what they need to do?
Well, they know what the estimate of value is, but we did that several years ago with Kaiser Marston, and so that in and of itself is getting old. And
are we going to be able to work with those numbers, or is that going to have to change?
Yeah,
I'm just concerned that they're operating under a particular viewpoint with particular numbers, and I know that they're probably not expecting to spend within the framework of a nonprofit kind of agency, and I'm not sure what kind of playing field they're working on now.
The way that we're just required to go about this, though, is the numbers really, our estimates of value at this point really mean nothing. We'll go forward with a solicitation, and it's going to be the highest bidder.
Okay.
So the oversight board will, unless we're directed otherwise, and again, they have a fiduciary duty to maximize the revenues, I think it's going to be the first person that has the highest bid will be the one we pick and we'll go with.
So there's not going to be another valuation or anything like that? Just going to be putting it out to bid?
The oversight board has asked several times about appraisals. Again, given our financial situation, we have not really been willing to go forward with an appraisal because at this point, that information really means nothing to us. It's really what is someone going to pay.
What the market's willing to pay.
Right. We think the solicitation is basically setting the market for these properties. That's our hope.
Okay. Thank you.
We are not taking action on this matter today. It will go to the Oversight Board later this week for the Oversight Board approval. Any further questions or comments on this before we move on?
I just wanted to make one point, just so it's clear. We will, if the Oversight Board changes anything on this, the Oversight Board actually has the final say per the code. It was our intent to simply send an information memo to you to let you know that something has changed and to let you know, but it was our intent to go forward, then bring that to DOF. So.
Okay. All right, I think we're done with this item. We'll move to the next one, which is 9.2. That's a proposed January to June administrative budget and recognized obligation payment schedule for 13-14.
Staff, why don't we dispense with the presentation and just stand by for questions, discussions?
Okay. Real quickly, I can just say 3 words on this. This is the 5th ROPS, Recognized Obligation Payment Schedule. We started back in January, I believe, 2012. every 6 months, the state mandates that there's ROPS approval, and we're asking for approval of the ROPS and the admin budget for this period coming up, meaning the second half of the fiscal year, January through June 2014.
Councilmember Herrera?
I have a question back on the previous item, just one quick clarification for Richard. So on those properties, and I was talking about the stage company, there's nothing that precludes them from coming forward sooner with some kind of proposal, though, right? They don't have to wait until you go through the process of listing it. If somebody has a proposal, they can bring it forward. I just wanted to understand that.
But that wouldn't we wouldn't be able to determine if that was the highest, what the market could bear.
So I think the Oversight Board, if somebody showed up with money, the Oversight Board would be very interested in finding out if that was the right amount of money, and we could launch a solicitation at that time, open solicitation.
Well, once we can't do anything until we get the long-range property management plan approved by the state.
But once that's approved, someone could come forward with a proposal on one of these properties, and then it would be evaluated. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, back to the obligation schedule and the administrative budget. Any questions or comments on that? We do need action on these items. We have a motion to approve both items. On that motion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. That's approved. Open forum. We have any requests to speak? I see no cards. Nobody headed this way. That concludes our meeting. We're adjourned.